There is an enormous biodiversity of fungal systems and associations within this ecosphere. And it's that biodiversity that gives sustainability to the ecosystem. The mushroom mycelium represents rebirth, regeneration, rejuvenation. The task that we face today is to understand the language of nature. And so hopefully, the spirit of goodness will survive. One giant consciousness. Regeneration, rejuvenation. We have the intelligence of nature underneath our feet. One giant consciousness. The spirit of goodness will survive.
Welcome, THC fam, to episode number 7. Excited to have everybody here. Tonight's episode is about spiritual awakening,
Oh, yeah.
mushrooms, psilocybin, psychoactive, psychotropic, psychedelic, whatever you want to call it.
Boombastic.
A non-physical realm that we all know and love, I think, in this truther community, in this spiritual community. We're all looking to reach that higher elevation, that higher level of consciousness.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome to the show. Let's get started. Frank, good to see you, brother.
Good to see you, my man.
Oh, yes. Episode number 2
Oh, yeah.
in the books. We
Always
get
good
started.
to be in the herb lab.
How you feeling tonight?
Feeling so good, man.
Yeah?
You know it, man.
You had a good week so far?
Had a real good week.
We ended the show last week pretty early because we went on a camping trip. The boys went on a spiritual journey. We set out for the purpose of taking some mushrooms, and me, as everybody knows, is on this my journey, and my purpose in life is to help wake as many people up as I can, and help as many people as possible until the day I die. And that is my true goal, and I'm going to keep doing it no matter what. Frank is one of those people that I'm helping out and that I'm kind of guiding along this journey where we all are and where we all want to be. So let me introduce our special guest tonight. We have Harry Sheet from the Hoary Sheet Show.
Oh, hello.
In the festive mood.
Hi, guys. Well, I just want to say hi. Thanks for having me on the show. Happy to be talking about some of my spiritual experiences. Sorry if that was a bit of a shocker. I like to mess with people's heads. That's what I'm also here for.
So you've had some spiritual experiences yourself, isn't that right? You've taken some psychoactive, psychotropics.
Yeah, I have. I've definitely had my share of unique experiences that I can't really explain. It's quite bizarre to to take like something like mushrooms or LSD and to just be communicated with by something that makes an actual impact on your life. And I don't know how to explain that to anyone else who hasn't had such an experience, but I can tell you it's powerful. It can change you. It can change your whole outlook on this reality. And I know from other things that I do, like astral projection and Reiki energy healing, that this is not it. What we see is not just it. There's more. The unseen is real.
What was I going to say? You do. I've noticed on your channel, if you just want to let everybody in the channel that doesn't maybe not know you, what you kind of do and what your channel's about. And I know you're into the non-physical realm, and that's why I kind of reached out to you. If you want to just let them know.
Yeah, sure. What I do, basically, I started my channel originally to make fun of flat earthers. I thought I was going to get on and make a YouTube channel and hop in there with a big grandiose studio and and totally knock flat earthers out of the park, So I built this whole wonderful everything, and I've been working on it for years, and then I actually started, I had to do my research. I had to see what these quote unquote idiots believed, right? 8 months later, I became a flat earther. And now I speak about flat earth truth, all the other conspiracies, and also want to teach my own personal experiences with astral projection, teach people how to leave their bodies, how to walk through walls, stuff like that. I hope they don't go through walls to see their girlfriends naked, like I did on accident, like things like that. And then energy healing too. I've had several experiences with that, healing the flu from some Facebook friend in the Philippines saying she had a fever one day, and I reached out to her inbox and say, hey, can I help? The next day she was 100% better, things like that I've done. That's like probably not even the coolest one. Like I have so many stories, and I share these stories not to toot my own horn or to brag or anything. It's not about that. I try to teach people we are magical creatures. We are capable of so much more than most people currently believe. And I try to push the envelope to watch it bend, so to speak. Favorite tool quote right there.
I love it. And I'm going to get into a short little video, and then Frank's going to explain what happened during our little spiritual journey that happened over the weekend, man. I was this little spiritual guide, and we kind of We had so many synchronicities. And like you said, these are unexplainable things that aren't happening in the physical world. And then they tie into the physical world. And unless you can experience it yourself, you're basically never going to know what it is.
Yeah.
And before you get started with that, I didn't believe in any of the. I didn't believe that the astral projection, out of body stuff was more. I thought it might have just been elaborate dreams or lucid dreaming where you can control your dreams. And I didn't really believe that what I was experiencing actually was happening or I could do anything real with it. And I proved myself wrong as an extreme skeptic of all things like that. And that's the only reason I'm here talking about it,
I
So
think,
I encourage people to try these things, not just listen to somebody,
yes. Yeah, especially it's the same thing I think with the flat earth is that, we're here to tell people about it, but we're not here to make you think. The thinking is on you, the experience is on you, the knowledge and the process is on you. We're here to plant a seed, and that's the same thing with any experience that happens to me in my life, especially these profound experiences. The first thing I do when I have these profound experiences, I look around and who can I share this with? Who can I tell?
Yeah.
It is an immediate first after effect feeling that I can't wait to share it. So um, I used to beg the higher power or whatever that show me a sign thing, and I used to cry. It was like alcohol depression and
Oh yeah.
show me something. What is my purpose? And I was so lost. And I've taken mushrooms many times. I have a tattoo of a mushroom on my arm, smoking a doobie, drinking a 40. When I was 18, I love mushrooms. But I've never had such profound experiences after awakening, after the spiritual journey. I mean, it all ties in together when it's mind, body, and soul, not just mind and not just body and not just soul. So let's get into a little bit of a Native American guy talking about this. I want to show everybody just this, and no one has to agree. This is just some stuff I found that I think sounds cool. I know that my religious kind of outlook on life is not the same as all the other flat earthers, but we're all in this journey together, and I appreciate all the support. And I've been more religious than I ever have in my life during these times, just because it all ties together. Spirituality, religion may not be one and the same, but they are connected.
The dark forces have tipped the scales to their side, which looks like they're winning at this point. The reason they're not going to win is because they're not in charge. It doesn't make any difference how high or how great they think they are. They're not in charge. Now the people that the beings that are in charge or the forces that create the earth, you can call it the great creator, you can call it energy, you can call it light source. But if you look at, for example, in the Zuni mythology and the creation myth, it was not some machine or some being or some nuts and bolts type thing that came or a Cray 2 computer type. It was a light source that came, and the only reason that we know about, he had emissaries that took, well, maybe they did all the menial labor, so to speak. And that's, again, that's all Indian tribes have that twin warrior mythology in their religious makeup. But the basic thing that occurs, question that you're asking, is that they've always been here. The people that are the keepers and the watchers, they've always been here.
The keepers and the watchers.
The white men call them angels.
Okay. See?
We call
spiritual
other
stuff.
things throughout the different peoples of the world.
They call, and
But
that's the
they've
thing.
always
We all
been
call
here. The
something
only
the
thing
same
that
thing. We call
they
it
do
something
not-
different.
Right.
That they do not do is they
Higher-
don't make
yep.
themselves visible.
Higher being.
They have
The things we can't understand, but we have an idea of it.
because of the turmoil that's happening. You've heard of a lot of paranormal activities that come around, and some of these beings.
What does that mean,
especially
Marika?
the flying saucer
You know about this stuff?
Group. that they actually can walk through those walls there. I mean,
Rolling.
and
Look, he just
you've
said
heard
that.
So many.
Oh my
many
God,
stories,
that gave me
and
chills.
they're
Whoa,
factual
whoa, whoa,
in
whoa,
many
whoa.
cases
Synchro
of flying
bros
saucers
in the
flying
crib.
actual.
Synchro bro.
And
Bro, did everybody just catch that?
I did
Let's
that
run that back.
shit.
Because
Did that shit.
Corey just said
Hold on.
that he's going to teach you how to walk through walls. And now I want you to hear what he just. I had not
Dude.
seen this, Harry. Dude.
Isn't
Oh my
that cool?
God.
The synchronicities.
No, it's
Super
I'm used. I'm
dope.
411,
almost.
boys. 411.
I'm almost used to it at this point, but it still just
No,
gives me
it's-
that chill.
I love it. Super.
you've heard so many stories,
Hear it again.
and they're factual in many cases of flying saucers flying right to a mountain, because to them it doesn't mean anything, nothing to them. In the Zuni world, we call them the raw people, because they're so supernatural, and they got the cosmic magic that they can do anything. They can appear right here and stand right here next to me, and they can disappear. And these Tatas, they'll be on the other side of the world. This is some technology that we have no understanding about.
No understanding.
It's always been here. As far as things that are happening right now throughout the whole world, it's because that's the one that man created with the help of the dark forces. And if you really want to come right down to it, in the Pueblo and the Indian world, where I'm from, they call that witchcraft.
For more information on the next Star Knowledge Conference.
Oh, that gives me chills, because it truly, I feel
That was
something
money
there
right
with that.
That was money.
You know, and like I said, we're going to get into what happened this past weekend with Frank and I, but I just want to continue to say, even after that video right there, the synchronicity that just happened is a non-physical realm thing. These synchronicities happen to me daily, when I used to see them maybe once a year, and then before my awakening, never saw them, of course. And now they're happening to me every 10 minutes. It is an incredible thing, whatever this fucking thing is. I don't know what's happening, but I'm riding it. I'm rolling with it. I love it. I love
Heck
every
yeah.
second of it.
Opening your eyes to the signs.
So, Frank, light up that doobie. Hor, you have anything to say about that video real quick before we move on to his story?
I
cool.
I want to know. I kind of missed the beginning of what he said about it's witchcraft. Can you reiterate what he said there about how he connected some of these things to witchcraft
that
for
was
me? Because I was
towards the end.
clicking buttons. I was doing something.
No, you were trying to link my chat to.
Yeah.
appreciate you. No problem at all, man. It's all
You're
gravy
saying something like
and
they
the
were trying to.
THC.
So it seems like
Well-
he says we call these other forces different things as angels, and he's probably demons. And I wonder what happened when this
Which
place
part?
was
You say the
created.
first part of the video, or right
It
here
was-
at the
it was
end you're
towards the
talking
end,
about?
Where it said the witchcraft.
It was towards the end, about
Yeah,
the witchcraft thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Have tipped the scales to their side, which looks
little-
like they're winning at this point.
Reverbs
But
are
the
just
light
about 10
source-
seconds.
Yeah.
As far
about
as
15
things that
seconds.
are happening right now throughout the whole world, it's because that's the one that man created with the help of the dark forces. And if you really want to come right down to it, in the Pueblo and the Indian world, where I'm from, they call that witchcraft.
For more information on the next Star
right.
Knowledge
So he's
Conference,
saying that
visit
they call it
StarKnowledgeConference.com.
Like he said,
So-
everyone everywhere calls these dark energies, the light energies,
Exactly.
whatever force you want to think of. We
Whatever.
all have a name for what demons and angels and
Yep.
this and that and energy or light energy. He said, whatever you want to call it, that's what it is.
That's what it is.
So I just want to say I get attacked a lot by the religious community, especially the Christian community, for the things that I talk about and the experiences that I've had. They call me a Satan practicer, a demon controller or manipulator. I don't mess with demons. I don't mess with dark energies. I don't even use crystals or pendulums or tarot cards or Ouija board. I don't do any of that stuff.
That's all
But I
Chinese.
get
to me.
I get attacked. Yeah, it is
No
really to me
clue.
too. But I mean, I get attacked by telling people I go out of my body or I do energy healing. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but Jesus was said to be in the Bible saying that he was healing people with his hands and everything like that. And I don't find anything wrong with that if you're helping somebody heal, if you have love for them and you're channeling, and that word channeling really triggers a lot of people too. You're not supposed to channel, you're channeling the dark energies right there. You said it. I just had a falling out with like a really good person, really good friend of mine just the other day, like 2 days ago, because she's accusing me of dabbling with these dark energies. And I'm like, if I'm healing a friend of mine that's sick with the flu because I love them and I think they're special for this world,
Yeah.
no, that can't be evil. Why would evil help me help somebody that's going to go against them, the evil? It's like, no, somebody, don't get your antennas crossed there. Some people do that, and it's because they believe a book written by man, and I don't know if it's got the whole truth. It
a
definitely
lot of
has
the
truth in it.
times, a lot of the times too, it's always that whatever the road to good intentions is paved with gold or whatever the hell that saying is, but it's like silver, bronze, metal shit. It doesn't really fucking matter because no matter your intentions, it's not like the other party will ever understand your true nature. You know, no matter who sees you, they see through their own eyes,
Through their own lens. Yeah.
and
Mhm.
that's a tough one because I get that too a lot.
is
No matter
tough.
how many times I've tried to help or do something for someone, they'll call it something else or say that I'm the one who's wrong and needs help, and and that's only after I get it. It's not like it's not the same as before because how am I, who am I to say that I'm right and they're wrong, right? But I have had things happen for me, this non-physical energy, this non-physical realm that I don't fucking know anything about that I'm just now starting to experience. It happens in front of other people,
Yeah.
many people, not just one guy
It's
or
happened in
Frank
front of
or
me though.
I mean, yeah, I know it trips you out. And like I said,
It does.
I told Frank many times that you should stop being surprised. This is going to continue to happen, And let's get into Frank's story here. I appreciate you sharing, Hoyt. Yeah, but that's wild. You just keep those good intentions, and like you always
All
say,
you
as
can
long as
do,
you stay
man.
true,
Stay
as long as
true.
you stay true to your convictions and what your goals and your mission is, then you're going to be okay.
What matters is who you are, your intentions at the core. If you're good at the core and you're trying your best, that means more to the creator than the mistakes that you make along that journey.
Yeah. I agree.
simply
100.
put.
I
Yeah,
agree.
absolutely.
100.
The core is what it is that little thing under your pineal gland that the doctors and researchers don't know anything about. That little thing that looks like Saturn floating around in your brain. Your
Hmm.
soul, your energy at its core
But
is
the
what matters, man.
but the more genuine you are and with good intentions, like you
Yes,
said,
Kelly, that's
the
right.
more you are,
The
the more you
pharmakeia.
can think outside the box. The more you
And this
can
witch
explore
talking about
yourself,
witchcraft, didn't I tell you yesterday about the spelling and how
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
using
we were talking
words to
about that.
put you're under a spell. You're literally
We
like
were
that
talking
stupid
about
lady
that.
says,
Literally,
literally the NASA dumb bitch. You're literally under a spell. They're using words and propaganda and sight and mind and hypnosis to put you in this thought and belief process that doesn't
Yeah,
exist.
craft a narrative.
They crafted your whole paradigm. You live in a boxed in prison and don't know it. But that's why I always say they're trying to keep you from that spiritual connection. Because once you find spiritual connection, you see right through that shit. If it wasn't motherfucking for Flat Earth, I'd have had the goddamn shot in my arm. I didn't know any better. Flat Earth couldn't have
It
came at a fucking better time, man. That shit's
connects a
awesome.
lot of dots, doesn't it, Flat
It
Earth?
saved my life.
I'm
And it might
not
be
doubting
saving
that.
Frank's life, like who knows? Let's see what Frank has to. I really want to get into this. It's really, really special for both of us.
Cool. I'm excited
No,
to
yeah,
listen
it's
to
really
it.
awesome.
Let me see here. Go ahead, Frank.
Yeah.
Show's on you. Scoot
I
on
mean, so
over.
look, last week was our first episode together. I've known Mike for years. We've gone through the drunk stages, the cigarette stages, and he's been awake for a lot longer than I've even put thoughts into anything that he was talking about. And we've gone over this before, but we used to battle about it. But he's been true. He's been tried and true. And it's really refreshing when you see something like that. So, anyways, we've been talking about, doing some mushrooms, hanging out, being in tune with nature and doing it. And I have 2 kids, right? So putting it off. We're not going to do it this weekend. So finally, first show together, we ended up a little early and we ended up going to the woods and it was freaking awesome.
Oh, you did it in the woods too. You were
We
with
went
nature
to
with
the
the
we went
shrooms.
to the woods.
Yeah.
So we went to the nearby, park. Nobody was there. I mean, it was 32 degrees. Nobody was there. Gates were locked, and we're like, "Fuck it, let's go." Right on the beach, we said, "Fuck it." So we pitched our tent, and he had a big 10-person tent. We're getting our mind right. We're like, "Look, we don't want to start tripping yet. We want to get our area
Yeah,
nice
right.
and comfortable, get that fire." We didn't get it going, but at least ready to rock. So in case we got sloppy, we were prepared. So
Hmm.
we've been we've been talking about how good it would be to just like be away from everybody. And where we were, there are no houses, there are no lights. It's called First Landing State Park, so it's like pitch black when you get to the water. It's like walking in like an abyss already without mushrooms. So we ate the mushrooms, walked through the woods, made it to the bay, and it was like pitch black. And the whole time we were just laughing and vibing and just like blown away at just how empty it was and how flat everything was. And we're right next to the Chesapeake Bay Bridge. If anyone's familiar with that, it's the longest bridge on the eastern seaboard. And we have a complete view of that. And that night, it looked so close, and you could see the expanse. And I think it's supposed to be what, 14 miles or something, but you can see the expanse, and it's just that horizontal plane. And so when you get in tuned the way Mike and the way I've seen him get in tuned, I put myself further into spiritual, like I can tell you're in tune
No,
because
I mean they don't know about my like birds and squirrels. You can tell them.
oh well, in case you don't know, Mike feeds the squirrels and the birds, and we live in a complex. And he's the only person, and everyone looks at him like he's crazy. But I've literally seen this dude feed the birds, and they come to him. And so he's in tuned. So there's an in tunedness that I've seen, but I've also been with him when it wasn't the same situation. So he's found himself and he's been true with that. So, anyways, so because of that, when we're tripping on these shrooms, I unlocked more than I've done in the past. Because I've done in the past and partying and drinking and all that stuff, but this time we were locked in, and I had seen and heard all of the compelling things over time. Now, this has been years in the making that Mike has been true to what his convictions are. So this is years in the making. So when this finally happened for us to just like have this spiritual moment together on the cusp of our first episode together, it was just like a feeling of just like overjoy, right? And on top of it, I'm waking up to certain aspects, just like you said, like I can't explain any of these things other than it's actually more basic than you can actually ever think. The whole narrative is what's confusing. The whole narrative of what it is, and we're rotating all that. That's what's confusing. And to finally be at a true moment with Mike and tripping and just unlocking was like really, it was really awesome. It was really dope.
What about the?
But then we're around the fire and we're talking, we're laughing, we're listening to music. I'm in and out, kind of going in and
Before,
out.
don't tell that story yet, because what happened
Oh,
in the parking lot is when you truly got to see the sky. We were, and when he says it
oh,
was crispy clear,
Oh yeah, the
it was the
sky on
clearest that
I'm
I've.
telling you,
You know,
I'm telling
I'm
you.
40 years old. The sky had never looked so clear in my entire life. I could see every
yeah.
fucking star, and it wasn't just the
Every
mushrooms. I mean, it was
every
clear,
tiniest twinkling little bitty
tiniest
tiny
twinkle of
one
movement
too.
because there was no
And
light
Really,
pollution.
really.
yeah, that too. And did you
Okay,
realize, like, when you looked at the sky, did you see how the stars connect to make these sort of pictures that we see of like the archer in the sky or the centaur and
Yeah.
all the other
Yeah.
you see that you literally like oh that's why they made those
It's like a connected dots puzzle.
the connected dots puzzle, right? Exactly. I that was mind blowing for me. Not too long ago was the first time I saw that, like a couple months ago.
But while we were standing there, so I
But
followed
that
these
was-
brake lights.
but
I'm
I
like,
hadn't
dude, there's
seen
some
that.
brake lights that went by, and I keep telling him about signs. And so if something in my mind, I don't ignore it anymore. I'm like, oh, I need to follow that. I was like, something tells me I got to go follow that brake light.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like, whatever, man. All right, let's go.
Yeah,
And
but it was like dark. I'm like, dude, I don't know, dude. I
we have
didn't
these,
see
like,
any
shitty
fucking brake
flashlights
lights,
and
bro.
we buy. You forgot all about this part. We bought red and blue flashlights, and I'm like, I get the fucking red one, obviously, and you get the blue one. And his doesn't work half the
And
time.
mine doesn't work.
We're on the beach, and he's like, "Man, mine keeps going out." And
I'm like, don't
"Duh."
do this. Don't do this on the trip. Don't do this on the trip.
I'm like, duh. You should have got a red one.
But he wants to go see brake lights, and I'm like, dude, come on, man. Like, we're comfortable in our little fucking spot. Like, you know, the trees are trippy. We're all
We
good
were
vibes.
in full trip right now.
But it
And
could have
that
gone
intuition
south.
speaks. That intuition speaks.
Intuition
When
is
you do
what
it,
is.
you have the
Intuition
magic
is what it is.
moment.
I said, "Come on, Frank, we
And
gotta
we
go
went.
follow this." And we're standing there on the way back. So we had to go make sure his car was all right. I thought somebody was messing with his car. His car was fine. The brake lights were gone. And then on the way back, I'm like, "Look up, Frank. Where are the medium ones, Frank? Where are the different colors, Frank?" You know, and he's like, "Nobody's ever put it to me like that."
It was received and absorbed completely different than any other time. I mean, look, I used to sail. I used to be in the middle of the ocean
He
and
used
look
to
at the
use
stars,
these big
but
fucking binoculars,
never
man. He used to have access to these big. That was his job, and he'd be like,
big
"Why
eyes.
can I
They
see?"
call them big eyes.
He'd
big,
ask his
giant
captain, "How
binoculars.
can I see that far?"
I would, you know, you have to do charting, and you could tell where the nearest land was, you know, 102 miles. So this is like going through the Aleutian Islands. So it was like 102 miles, and there was like a volcano, for instance. And I'm like, damn, why can we see?
Well, let's get back to that.
But I just, you know, stuff like that. So anyways, but it was never explained with sky and all of that. So I've looked at the stars. I've gazed.
He
But
finally
that
looked up
night,
and was just like,
when-
I've never heard it. You could have said it 6 months ago. I
Yeah.
didn't get to see it like this. You know, this is how
Yeah.
it just. And I'm like, Frank, we're on the beach. He remembered this like time when I'm telling him to breathe through his nose, and I'm like, feel the senses, man. You got to fucking taste the water and taste the air,
Yeah.
and just by breathing, you know, be one with all of this. And he's like, holy shit, that brings me back to a time when I was
in Japan. So I'm half Japanese, and there's a monk that my family would go to, and it was closer to the Mount Fuji area, and he was always in the elevation, but he would breathe, and he would purposely breathe through his nose. And if you breathe through your nose in like thin air and cold winter air, it burns. It sucks. And he would do that.
But you get
And
all
he's
those
like, the
senses,
quality,
you know,
it
the
filters
quality.
even the air.
And that's what your
so
nose
he
and
said
system is
that.
for, right? And that's what I mean, like becoming one with mind, body, and soul. You
Is
need
what's
to
important.
connect the three. So the mushrooms are the mind, the body, you take care of yourself and stop eating
Yeah.
McDonald's and poison food and drinking beer and smoking cigarettes, right? And then
Not weed.
and then the soul is when you connect with that fucking feeling that you're connected to everything. Breathe through your nose, listen to the nature, connect with nature. That's the soul.
That was all
So you
of
got
it.
mind, body, and soul,
really
and it
was.
unlocks you, man. It unlocks special powers. I'm
It was
not kidding.
awesome.
You know, and that's what I mean. And so we're back at the campfire. Continue.
We're back at the campfire, and so, you know, I'm just like laughing, just overjoyed, like, yo, I cannot believe I've never looked at it that way. Just, it's insane. But we're at the fire. We're in between. We're still hunting for wood to keep the fire going, because it is 28 degrees at this point. So it is cold, but we're not even phased. All of a sudden, and this is over reggae music and the fire crackling.
And us yelling.
And
I'm yelling
us
at Frank.
yelling,
Wake up,
"Wake
Frank. Change your
up."
life. Radical changes bring radical results.
We're laughing. I'm alive. You know, all this crap. It's just us, right? And all of a sudden, he's like, whoa, hold on. And I was like, what, dude? I was like, are you turning on me? He's like, give me your light, dude. Give me your light. And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, my light never works. It was like going in and out the whole night. And he grabs the light, and I swear, as soon as he hits the button, a white rabbit was like from here, like 6 yards
And when
away.
I say that I'm used to the synchronicities, that shit,
A
like,
white
I could
rabbit
feel the
caught
rabbit, not just hear
dead
him or
in its
see.
light.
I couldn't even. We're like it's pitch black, man. And you know how when you're in a campfire and pitch
And we
black,
were
you turn
loud.
around, you can't see except for right where the flames are. Like,
Yeah, you can't see shit.
We
It's
were
intense.
loud.
and I'm like, why in the world
Screaming.
would this rabbit be anywhere near us? We're the only people in the park. We're the only ones making noise. We're the only fire, and this rabbit is 5 feet away from us. Like,
And
and
this
when I
bitch
shine the
caught
light,
dead to rights. He was like, "Oh fuck." And
Yeah.
he's like, "Fucking, I'm here for the tricks, motherfucker."
and he didn't know
Yeah.
this, and he didn't
He
know
was
this.
observing you guys because he didn't feel threatened at all.
He didn't
It's
know this.
crazy awesome.
He didn't know this, but so the
Yeah.
night before, I'm like I said, I'm down this rabbit hole for a long time, and the night before, I said out loud in my own speech to myself and my own like thought process to myself, I said out loud, I'm tired of this rabbit hole. I want the fucking rabbit. And then that shit happened, dude. I mean, when I say these special stuff is real, dude, this other world that we don't know about,
It was
this
awesome.
other realm and this energy. God, I wish I could fucking explain it.
He felt it though, because it was at that very moment, and this was over hours. We've been screaming, searching, and getting lost and laughing,
kicking shit around,
we're
kicking
a wreck.
cheese and snapping
We're
logs.
a wreck, but we're having such a good time. And then he fucking just like turned serious for a second. I was like, "Yo,
I
the
could,
fuck, dude?
I
Don't
could,
do that, dude. Don't
I
fucking
could,
turn
I
on
could
me, man."
feel, I could feel the
Don't fucking-
energy. I could feel the energy coming off of whatever that
And the
rabbit
fucking
was.
like, it would take like 3 clicks to get my light to work, and I was like, "This is bullshit. This is fucking bullshit." And then he grabs the light, the blue one, which he refused to use the whole night up until that point.
Oh, that is funny. I did
Yeah,
grab
dude,
yours, which
you
is
always
blue,
wanted the red one.
and the
He
blue
grabbed
shined
it,
on the
and
rabbit.
the first button, not like he
Which
didn't
is
have it
symbol-
on and it traced to it. It was like immediate. It fucking blew our minds, and it was one of
Yeah,
those things.
I was traumatized by it, like
It
because
kinda
of the
fucking-
symbology of it and how I see through the Matrix now.
It was kind of
To explain to him that the Matrix movie itself is the analogy for the spiritual awakening, and constantly showing him like when you're at the point when Neo's trying to jump across the buildings and he falls down because he thinks he's
and that was
fucking
like 2
awake,
minutes
but he's not
before
quite.
that bunny actually. That was like 2 minutes we were having.
We
that
were talking
conversation.
about that.
That
yeah,
exact.
it was just,
And they
it was just,
put that in there. Follow the white rabbit too. You know.
that's what I
That's
mean.
what
That's
we were
what was.
talking-
That's what was so fucking
And
crazy.
you know, of course, the shrooms enhance it, but the shrooms didn't cause it. You know what I mean? Like that shit was like.
It was an energy. It was
We're
a
like,
fucking.
what the fuck,
It was
dude?
a moment after all these other moments that we had already had. Just standing out in the parking lot and going, "Can't you see, Frank? That'd have been great if that was the only moment." But it was fucking constant synchronicities, and when I say that there are
That moment was probably like a half an hour altogether. Like it was. Who knows? You know what I mean? Like it was not
special
just-
things come, man.
It was fucking.
Special
it was
things
awesome.
come when you open up your
All
mind,
day.
when you open up your body and your soul.
Yeah.
I promise you, to anyone out there that is looking for that, like they're stuck on an old relationship. They're the woman they love doesn't love them, and they just fucking depress over it, and they stay stuck on stuff. Those are these weights that we got to get rid of. I remember being like that, and I'm not saying now that I have somebody, I get it now though, and I was a different person then. So these awakenings change you to the other life's questions and these other ways that that inner journey is what
True.
wakes you up.
Yeah.
And that's what the mushrooms help you with. So I want to
That's
do a
true.
little video. Tell us about your first trip or a profound experience you had, Ori.
Well, my first trip on mushrooms, that was with a girlfriend of mine, and nothing incredibly spiritual happened except for something that I didn't realize until way, way later why it happened that night on my trip. But she gave me one of these conversations like, hey, why don't we look into each other's eyes and stare into each other's souls while we're tripping? And I'm like, yeah, okay, that sounds great. Until I'm staring at her and her eyes and her face all of a sudden starts morphing into, I don't know if you remember like the worms in Beetlejuice that fly out the ground with all the teeth and
Frank's
Bruh.
face melted off a few times. I had to look away and keep talking. I'm like, yeah, it was really bad, dude.
Yeah, I freaked out. That was my most freak out WTF moment. Stop it. Oh my God, I'm gonna lose my shit moments
Mushrooms
when I'm
will trip
tripping.
you out, but isn't
I
it the
mean,
greatest to
it,
go to this other side of things?
But I think also though, like I wouldn't have had that same experience that even if I was at that same location, if it wasn't with somebody who also was on that plane. You know what I mean? Like
mhm.
I could not share that, and I've done shrooms plenty of times, like I've said, with friends and friends that are friends, but friends that are superficial.
If I
And
ever
I don't
heard
say it like that because they're real friends, but not on a spiritual level.
if I ever
right?
heard somebody before say spiritual guide or spirituality, I would have laughed and been like, they're just weirdos.
But the
And now that I
synchronicity
have
was
it and feel it, it's
insane.
such a weird thing to try to explain. You
It
don't.
was
There's no
insane.
way to explain it, and that's why I didn't
Yeah,
understand.
I want to do that for my friends that are still blue pilled, and I want to be that guy to when we have those synchronicities, explain what's happening or just open their mind a little bit more, help facilitate the experience, the
Facilitate the
awakening.
spiritual guide of things.
But you know what?
Yeah.
It took me, and this is no exaggeration, 3 years to get to the moment of this last Saturday, because we've been through it.
Julie Graham said,
3 years, and I've tried to throw everything that I'm like, I was in the military, I know, but everything that I tried to like throw at it, and then I found myself getting angry. I'm like, yo, okay, but being with somebody like him and seeing him around, being true, and I'm like, dude, he's consistent and he's compelling, and then none
look
of
at
these
this.
answers are
Look at this.
fucking,
This is a synchronicity right here.
and
Shout out to
it's
Julie
great.
Graham. I just
I've
searched for
never
you,
been
and I
spiritual.
am on shrooms, and here you are.
Right on.
You know what I mean? How crazy is that?
Enjoy the trip.
Dude, enjoy your trip. That's what's so great.
All positive vibes.
Here, let's launch one of these little videos that I had
Cultivate
saved.
good vibes.
Cultivate good vibes, baby.
But yeah, I wouldn't have been spiritual in the same way.
No way.
No fucking way.
You have to unlock.
White Rabbit, I probably
you have
would
to
have
unlock
tried to
certain
kick it or
truths. This is
something.
why Neo's journey was so long, and he wakes up like with all these tattered clothes. Because life, when you first find out, is such a
And
shithole.
don't get me wrong, I still
But then
fuck
he
with
becomes
Neo.
the best dude in
I'm
the
still
planet,
like,
right? And it's
wow.
in all of us. It is in every single one of us the potential to have what I have. I begged for something, and it never happened. It was when I went on my own journey that it happened. It was without. It was when I didn't question it, and I went looking, and it's like it's self motivation, man.
And
Yeah.
you never know when you're going to open somebody's mind to such whatever that you open them to. Like, I mean, it doesn't always have to happen on psychedelics like shrooms or
No,
acids.
definitely not.
I was at a party and everybody was doing ecstasy at the time, and they were all doing their own thing. I mean, they're drinking, they're partying, they're in the other room. There's music, there's all kind of crazy stuff, and me, I drew back into a closet space, closed myself in. They had a black light, and everybody had drawn on the walls. So it was like, everybody kind of put their name or drew a picture in the neon colored markers that was making it shine in the black light. And I just wanted to get away from the whole crowd. When my stuff kicked in, I needed to separate. And I'm sitting in there and I'm holding my hands like this, doing energy stuff, like making an energy ball and feeling the pressure on my hands and the tingling. And I'm just by myself. And this dude walks in. And he's like, what are you doing in here all by yourself, bro? And he closes the door and he sits down with me, Indian style with me. He's like, show me what you're doing. What are you doing with your hands? And I'm like, give me your head. I put my hands over his head.
Know what it is,
Yeah, but this, when you're on X, everything is comfortable. You can give your friend a massage that you've never touched in your life. And so, like, that's all I said was, let me put this on your head. Tell me what you feel. And he immediately was like, whoa, dude, I see rainbows everywhere. What the hell is this? And he was like, come here. He grabs my arm. He opens the door. He's bringing me to everybody else. Show them. Like, that kind of stuff. It blew his mind. Totally blew his mind.
Taking Back Eden. They definitely want us to laugh. Let me play this video.
That right? And
Yes.
and they don't. It's not it's a well thought out program that they have. That's different than what we're familiar with here. And they do it through a ceremony.
That's right. There are ceremonies to take psychedelic plants, and those are part of an ethical practice. That is, they use these to do something in the world that's correct, to find the correct path.
Say again.
It's an echo
So
for
it
me.
usually involves using this technique to fall back into a larger realm of communication to understand a way forward. So it's done for a reason. Often it has to do with healing individual people who are sick,
Should've fixed it.
finding what the problem
I
is,
just had my TV too loud.
finding solutions to communal problems, to even larger problems.
We
What up,
have
Three
some video
Fingers?
from one of these ceremonies. I think we can show that now.
This is the preparation of ayahuasca by a woman who's very dear to me. Her name is Mukutsawa from the Sapara community of Nanchamakocha. She's cutting up and boiling.
So this is a whole different
the
realm to me,
Banisteriopsis
and I don't know that I would be
along
okay with
Psychotria
ayahuasca.
viridis.
Ayahuasca se abre un gran
I don't think I
It's-
do.
del conocimiento, donde
It opens a
llegamos
portal of
And I don't know
knowledge.
if we-
Listen.
para conocer
Right,
cómo
everything is
está
interconnected with our
tejido,
bodies and all living
estamos
beings. Maybe I do want to do that. If I already
ser
know
vivo
that,
y
then maybe
como
I do
otros
want to do
seres.
that. That's what I'm
You're
saying.
ready.
I found that
You're
out
ready for
without
it.
ayahuasca. This is the thing. There are
Yeah,
many ways
here.
of awakening. There's a really good video on
That's
YouTube
from
called the
Samadhi
6
Ushigwa,
spiritual
leader from the
stages
nation.
of awakening. Which
And they're
which
beginning
stage
to
are you in?
take the
And it
medicine
talks
now.
about the Black Knight purge and all that. Ayahuasca is a much more out of body experience.
They say it's more geometric.
He says in there that the ayahuasca opens a portal of knowledge where everything is interconnected, our bodies, all living things. And this is one of the themes that has already come up a couple times.
Rastafari.
And it's this concept of the dissolution of the ego.
Also is an I and I, Rastafari. You know, I and I means the connection between you and me, or that I am you and you are me. So there are many cultures, there are many people
There's
among this
always,
plane
yeah.
that understand, like the guy that we watched earlier. You know, you may call it this and they may call it that, but we all understand the one thing. We are all connected and we are all on this thing together. And that is and I'm getting chills like just talking about it because I love that I know that. You know, that's my true awakening and turning point is when I have a spiritual connection to nature and to all. And to not just be in my own realm of partying and drinking and selfishness, where I'm literally torturing myself. If you look up the word torture, it means, you know, you're going to want to ask yourself why you drink so much and why you wake up and say, why am I doing? No, that's torture. That's absolute torture. Going to court all the time, spending absurd amounts of money to pay back friends for shit you did and bar tabs. And it's like,
Don't hate me for pouring a shot right now. Don't hate. Don't
do your
judge.
thing, bro. I don't judge, man.
No.
I don't judge.
No judge.
Just for me, there was no way that I would have my spiritual awakening while being under a haze, and that thing, and that alcohol clouded my mind. You know?
Thing is, when I know already what I need to do in every aspect of my life, I know that if I'm not choosing that, I might as well not do anything right at this point. But when I do, I'm changing everything. So when I do it, it's going to be 100% 180 from everything I do in my life.
I
So
know.
right now, I'm fucking around.
This is what I've told Frank over the weekend is about the radical change brings radical results. Unless you uproot basically your entire life for a new one, then you won't, because bringing along these like fake things, like not hiding the fact that you like marijuana or that you smoke cigarettes from your wife or something like that, you know, like these kinds of things can hinder
Small
your
shit
growth.
that chips away at you.
It'll, and then you've got this stress that you've decided to now live with for the rest of your time on this plane. And there's no way you're going to find yourself while living in any falsities. So one of those stages in the awakening is like coming to terms with those kinds of things. Like, why am I acting this way? Why am I hiding this instead of being who I am? And coming out publicly as a flat earther and things like that are my ways of being who I am, helping people. That is who I am. And now that I'm out in the open and I don't care what you or you say, I'm going to continue to do what my purpose is. That's an awakening, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. But you better
or this oneness, losing the self.
Anil,
tell us about
I'm
how
like,
that
dude, it's so
might
good.
No,
have
it's
some
true, though.
neuroscientific underpinnings.
It's fucking true.
It's
I mean,
when we think about the self,
This is real.
it's very easy to take the experience of self for granted. You know, if we think about perception, we think about consciousness, it's often tempting to think about this in terms of there's a world out there, and we experience it somehow through our senses, sense it, and then we form perceptions, and these perceptions are read out, if you like. They're presented to the self, whether it's the soul or an inner homunculus or whatever we conceive of it. We tend to think of the self as the thing that's doing the perceiving. But what we're finding, sort of independently from these psychedelic explorations, is that the self is itself a perception. The same mechanisms that allow us to perceive the world are also involved in building up the experience of what it is to be you or me. And that consists of many things.
What it
The
is to be
experience of my
you
body, where it is in space. What is
or me.
from these psychedelic explorations is that the self is itself a perception. The same mechanisms that allow us to perceive the world are also involved in building up the experience of what it is to be you or me. And that consists of many things. The experience of my body, where it is in space. What is part of my body and what isn't. My sense of agency and will over events. My identity over time. And just as we can use things like optical illusions and fancy things to play around with to realize that the way we experience the world is a construction. The same thing applies to the self. And so what we refer to as ego dissolution is a sort of internal disintegration, rearrangement of the brain perceiving the self.
Is this the so-called default mode?
I think it's related.
I want to put a beat on that.
I think this slide is going to come up at least 600
That
times
shit was
this evening.
fucking.
The default
I
mode
could, I
network
will.
is being asked to
beat
do
to
often
that.
Pause it right there, Mike. I
This
want
is a
to
particular
comment on that.
network of brain
Yes.
regions.
So this whole ego death thing that people talk about with psychedelics, if you haven't experienced that, I don't know. I think I don't know if you're truly woke if you haven't experienced an ego death. Like woke to the knowledge of like flat Earth and that kind of stuff is one thing, but woke to feeling and experiencing an ego death, feeling like your identity is no longer something that you can claim anymore or want to claim, like to experience feeling like, wow, I'm in Hori's room right now. Boy, he keeps it a mess in here. Look at this pathetic ass place. Poor guy. You know, when you have an experience like that, you begin to understand that there is you can call it your higher self is always accessible. And for me, when I do psychedelics, I become something else. I call it Christ consciousness. One time I had an experience for 3 weeks straight. I called myself Jesus because I felt like I loved everything. And my whole being just wanted to help everything, 100% service to others and 100% guided to intuition. Like you were, you know, when you followed those lights or when you grabbed the light and you saw the rabbit, your intuition told you to do those things. Like when you have an ego death, you are so in tune. You are connected. You are 100% psychic power, psychic awareness. And it's a quite an amazing experience. So yeah, losing your identity, it sounds so simple when he says, oh, losing your identity, but to experience it is so profound. So profound.
It is 100%. As I told Frank during our weekend, many times, there was a few things that I told him. Like I said, we've gone over the radical changes bring radical results. Timing is everything, synchronicity. And then the other one is breaking things down. When you break it down to what it is you're doing, the simplistic, the most backwards you can go, basically, is what I've found out. Why am I making this decision? Let's figure it out. What is it that's triggering me to do this response? What's getting me to do that? When you really break it down, that's the amazing part. You'll find out that so much doesn't fucking matter that you thought mattered. And you'll let it go. And that's okay because the world is okay. You know, your stupid ass opinions don't need to be fucking at every single turn and at every single person. You know, it's like, just let some shit go. You know, the things we can't control, let it go. The things you can, strive to change.
And it's so easy
incredibly,
to say, right? Just let it go, but
oh yeah,
got to.
That's why it's important. It's critically important to understand your background thought processes, your subconscious mind, and these are things that work the way they do because of your perception of the world and others, and especially your upbringing, your past experiences, your past traumas. When you go through a lot of trauma, you have a lot of undoing of that trauma to do, or else you're stuck
It's
as
a
sort of
whole
in a
unlearning
victimhood
process and
mentality.
everything. You're
Whole
starting
rerouting of
over
your.
and halfway through your life. That's not a midlife crisis, in my opinion. I think is what happens to a lot of people is they figure out that their whole life is a fucking sham, and then they have to start over. That's fucking. That's it, and it makes you happy and sad, and it just brings out every fucking emotion possible because you realize things.
It's not easy.
Yeah, you have to go through quite an
we
emotional
refer to as ego
rainbow
dissolution
spectrum.
as a sort of
Absolutely,
internal
dude.
disintegration, rearrangement of the brain perceiving.
Let's listen to this one.
Is this the so-called default mode?
Hold on one second.
There's, I think it's related. There's often this, and I think this slide is going to come up at least 600 times this evening. The default mode network is being asked to do often my sense of agency and will over events, my identity over time. And just as we can use things like optical illusions and fancy things to play around with to realize that the way we experience the world is a construction. The same thing applies to the self. And so what we refer to as ego dissolution is a sort of internal disintegration, rearrangement of the brain perceiving the self.
Is this the so-called default mode?
I think it's related. There's often this, and I think this slide is going to come up at least 600 times this evening. The default mode network is being asked to do often a lot of work in neuroscience. So this is a particular network of brain regions that co-activate typically when you're not doing anything else. And they tend to have an association with just mind wandering, when you're not focusing on the outside world. So people associate it with self-perception more than external perception. Now, it's definitely a huge oversimplification to say that's where the self is, that's where the soul is, the default mode network. No. However, it's one of the sort of reliable neuronal fingerprints of the typical experience of integrated selfhood for us every day. And one of the things we can see in the brain in the psychedelic state is a reorganization of these so-called resting state networks, these brain regions that tend to show correlations normally, whether it's default mode or another one. We see a reorganization and a breakdown of these typical networks.
Could that be an explanation for the experience, the mystical experience that people have?
It's a step towards that
Interviewer, she's like,
one of the issues, one of the problems I think we face in neuroscience is it's very tempting to put somebody in a brain scanner and then you see an area light up, or maybe even a few areas in the network and say, that's the area for jealousy, that's the area for right-wing political beliefs, and that's the area if you like Tabasco. And that is, that's not how it works. There are neural, as a firm materialist, I believe every experience that we have has a basis in the activity of our brain. But it's not as simple as associating a single area or a single network with a particular experience. But it does speak to the issue because we can start to see, okay, how does our experience change under psychedelics? And then we look and we see, these sorts of things, like the integrity of the default mode network, that in most other manipulations remains intact. I mean, you can see the intact default mode network even under cases of loss of consciousness. If we start to see these things reorganize in psychedelics, that's a big clue about how to understand the distinctive phenomenology of psychedelics.
Beautiful speech right there. When you start to do a little research on what psychedelics can actually do, it's pretty wild. There's a couple more I have.
Yeah. And there's a whole element of healing.
And so somebody,
microdosing, all of
somebody
that.
else was asking about
PTSD,
what's the difference between LSD and mushrooms. And there's not a big difference, but the one difference is that mushrooms are organic, and LSD is manufactured in a lab. So
I would say one is stronger than the other, or easier to take a little too much of. I took like 2 hits of acid, and then I almost called the Canadian government to tell them that I thought my girlfriend was sneaked out underground by the militia pedo mafia, and I didn't do that. I didn't do that on shrooms, or would have even came close on doing that on some shrooms. But I took a whole huge dose. Somebody's like, "Oh no, you just want to." That's like 4 doses, and I'm like, all right, I'll do one of these doses, and I didn't really feel a whole lot. So then the next time I took like what was said to be 3 doses, and it wasn't as strong as like say 1 hit of acid. So I would say the biggest difference is, the biggest difference is the strength of it for sure. It's much easier to know your doses on a tab than it is a fistful of organics.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Personally.
I feel LSD is a very sharp experience, if that makes any sense. It's it's like a precise. Shrooms are flowy. You're still colors, and you're there, and you're in it.
Association for Psychedelic Studies, or MAPS.
Our top priority project is MDMA-assisted psychotherapy for post-traumatic stress disorder, and we're in phase 3 studies right now.
For like
So Rick, how long?
thought I was in a picture frame, looking out and trapped, and I was
When you were
in the picture that I had known for like ever. It was my parents.
When you were
I'm like,
when you were on what? On shrooms, Jack?
Yeah, what up? It's Christian. Like I said, nice haircut, looking healthy now. I like that.
Yeah,
You got a new
LSD
smile
sharp.
on your face. I love it. We're talking about mushrooms, man. You probably know all about the mushrooms, right, Christian? See what this guy's got to say.
How long have you been involved in this?
I started MAPS in '86.
In the upcoming scene, we will watch a young man who was having a difficult experience under the influence of a psychedelic.
It looks like it.
I really got involved in trying to devote my life to psychedelics and becoming a psychedelic therapist in 1972.
Yeah, there you go.
So I imagine things have changed quite a bit since then?
Oh my God, everything has changed.
I'm going to drop the link. Jump on if you want.
America's
If you buy
public
your
enemy
stream,
number
jump on.
1 is drug abuse.
When I began, it was the depth of the backlash. In 1970, the Controlled Substances Act was passed in the United States. Psychedelics were criminalized. The research was squashed.
Extensive experimentation has failed to establish a medical use
Do you
for
have a
LSD.
good experience you want to share?
After
Come on in
Nixon,
and
mainstream
share.
acceptance of psychedelics was impossible, and these compounds went underground, where it stayed for over a half century, associated with counterculture and degeneracy.
Taking LSD is much the same as playing Russian roulette.
What are you doing out here? I'm floating up to the stars, Joe.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I said to him.
You're 3 stories up. No, I'm one with the universe. I'm God and Jesus, Joe.
But guys like Rick Doblin continued their research on the fringes.
And so what's changed now is the public attitudes have changed. The regulatory agencies are open to research. We just completed a $30 million capstone campaign for our MDMA PTSD phase 3 studies and for commercialization. We're in a major psychedelic renaissance right now. And now we have these new tools for neuroscience to really understand.
That's what I mean.
these
You have to
drugs do in the
confront
brain.
yourself. So,
But that is
Christian,
not an
do you have
easy
experience
question
you
to
wanna share?
answer.
Jump on, homie.
Careful looking in the mirror.
It is hard. It's tough.
There are a lot of drugs out
The
there that we don't
process
know
is
how
tough,
they work.
and it's a
You
long
only
process.
have to
It
show
takes
that a drug
years.
is
It's not a
safe
night-
and that
it's
it's
not a one-night
effective.
thing.
You
It's
don't
not-
have to
it's
know
not like
how
you
a
take
drug
shrooms
works
and you're awake.
to get it approved.
No.
I mean, asking how psychedelics work seems almost as challenging as asking what is the meaning of life.
I think if we have the answer to one, we'll have the answer to the other.
Dr. Charles Nichols is professor of pharmacology at Louisiana State University Health Sciences Center.
I primarily study serotonin neuropharmacology, a focus on psychedelic drugs.
So tell me a little bit about what we know is happening to the brain on, say, LSD or psilocybin.
What the psychedelics do is they target a selective subset of serotonin receptors. The one that produces the psychedelic effects is called the serotonin 2A receptor. A lot of positive effects are associated with activation of that receptor.
Okay, so how about a less scientific explanation?
Unscientifically, what psychedelics do in the brain, you're having several brain areas that are talking to one another that don't normally talk to one another, and you've established new connections, new pathways. There's one theory that posits that when that trip starts to wear off, the network will reset more into a normal connectivity state than, say, if somebody was depressed.
So what kind of tests in the lab do you perform to devise these theories?
We've developed 2 rat-based models where we can essentially create a depressed rat give it a single dose
Create
of
a depressed
psilocybin,
rat.
and
How
the
the
rats
fuck?
that were given
That's what the
psilocybin are
government
now
does to
acting
us.
like
If
normal
you think
rats.
they can't do
They're not
Yeah,
depressed.
no
I'm
shit.
curious. How do you know a rat is depressed?
Oh, it just kind of hangs out in its corner. Doesn't like to do much.
dude.
But these laboratory observations don't speculate on what happens during the actual trip. And this is where the therapy really comes in.
Hori, are you a depressed rat?
Damn right.
It's not a
I'll
question
drink
of
to
whether
that.
the science permits it, but it's how we use these tools. These are powerful tools, but we still haven't quite figured out, or at least we're still working on the best way to use them.
Shlomi Raz is CEO and founder of Erusis. He, along with other up-and-coming startups, are designing
Gilgamesh!
a methodology to
Look at this
safely and
shit.
effectively
Hold up.
practice
Let's go
psychedelic
check
medicine.
those so that we can get a quick reference there. Who are
Effectively.
these people?
He, along with other up-and-coming
stars, people who are legally allowed to research this stuff. Oh my goodness!
How do I
Look,
become
compassion.
a depressed rat
This is
for
what
them?
the name compassion, like that's what that shit brings you, bro.
Yeah.
There's
and then,
probably really trippy symbolism in here. I want you to understand. There's
But
the
then-
Mason
there's
symbol.
So
Oh,
much. There's a maze in that one.
we got a
There's
Mason
the
symbol.
yeah.
Mason
A
symbol.
G. We got the G.
And then do they also sell that data to
This is the
pharmaceutical
pineal
companies
gland.
as data?
Yeah,
Hold
that's
on,
the pineal
hold on one second.
gland.
This is the pineal gland. This is also another representation of the top-down view of the pineal gland pine cone. The maze and the maze.
The maze. Yeah.
This is just, I'm not sure what the diamond there is, but I do know that is definitely a G.
Psi-gen. Psi is another word for energy, chi, life force.
Sure, yeah. But these two right here are very interesting. We want to look at these two right here. This is the transhumanisms are using these like symbols. This is what I found through another episode we did.
That's full of symbology, right? All that, like you said,
But just my own take, the tactogen is very odd because it's tactical precision. Like, why would that be placed with like organic or anything? So tactogen is just an odd combination.
A strategy
Out of
generation.
all of them,
or...
that's the one that fucking.
It could be
the fucking evil sci-fi fucking.
Well, that's also this is also the third eye. So this is why people do their hand upside down. That's what that symbol would be, is if you put your hand like that, the upside down one.
It could be meaning tactile, like touch, senses, because there was a Robert Bruce article that I learned all my energy stuff from, and he calls one of the exercise tactile imagery, where if you were to just slowly touch your hand like that and feel that, that's one thing. Yeah. But if you were to not touch your hand, but feel like you were having an imaginary hand do the same thing, that you're now doing tactile imaging. And that's a way to bring your awareness to different parts of your body without actually stimulating it physically. And that's how we move energy around. And then
okay, so look, I just found. Look at this! 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 Hold on one second, Frank. Hold on one second.
I play guitar, and so that's that's so true.
We got it.
Well, but it came to me. Yeah. Just a hunch.
Oh, is this touch? Yeah. Guitars, I should know that.
Touching genetics. There you go, Scott. Touching genetics.
Yeah.
Tactogen. Tacto is touch. So if the company is of Hispanic origin, then that would mean that the word is touch. It is 100% touch. And yeah.
Yeah, that was a really powerful exercise to do. It really does help you move your energy around. And I mean, in high school, I was going up to my friends in recess after class for our 15-minute break outside. And of course, I was with the outcasts that were on the ground playing Magic the Gathering and everything like that. But we would look at everybody else on the other side. But I had my little crew, and I'd be like, "Hey, come here, let me show you something. Put your hand out." And they'd be like, "What are you doing today?" And I just put your hand out. Let me try this. And I'd put my hands around theirs, and I would use this tactile imaging stuff I learned from the article to move energy out of my hands. And then I would, with my mind, will them to feel certain things, whether it's an electric shock or some tingling or some hot or just pressure. And you can get people to feel the things you're trying to get them to feel. It was like 70% accurate. Like if they did feel it, I was able to get them to feel what I wanted them to feel 70% of the time. The other 30%, if I was trying electricity, they might have just felt heat. And so I would learn to change up how I was thinking based on their reaction, and then I could get them to feel the heat or whatever it was that I originally wanted them to feel based on their perception of what I was doing in the first place. And I did that all over the place. I did that on the bus, in class. I had people that were making fun of me doing it. I'm sitting there with a needle or a tack and a piece of round paper in the shape of a dime, a little spinny piece of paper on a tack, and I'm trying to like use my energy to spin it one way and then stop it and spin it the other way. And I was, doing telekinesis kind of activities, and these people were making fun of me, and they're like, "What are you doing? You can't, that's all fake, blah, 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 blah." And I'm like, "Well, you want to try it?" And you're like, "That's all fake." I said, "Well, then shut up unless you want to try it." "Okay, fine. All right. What do you want? Put your hand up." So I got his hand, and I just made like this, it's most intense. I asked permission. This is a very important thing. I asked permission when you do energy for any reason on somebody. You have to have their permission. And whether it's healing or anything. So I said, "Can I make it hurt?" And I got a laugh. "Yeah, sure. Yeah." So I just imagined intense heat. And then when you're doing this, you have to, it's like your brain is a processor, and you have to think of so many sources of heat or so many past experiences where you've burned yourself, and you have to think of them all at the same time. And then you could barely speak at that point. By the time you're telling them, "Okay, put your hand in," it sounds like, "Okay, put your hand in now." And they'd be like, "Oh shit, what the fuck? It burnt the hell out of me." I never saw those people in class the next day.
Startups
Same thing
are designing the
happened with the guy on the
methodology to
bus.
safely and effectively practice psychedelic medicine.
He never rode the bus again after that.
Much of their inspiration comes from ancient shamanic practices, such as ayahuasca ceremonies in South America, which have become increasingly popular among people seeking alternative forms of healing after traditional treatments have failed them. So Shlomi, what's the most important thing we can learn from these shamanistic practices as you design?
I want to explain why that, people are there. So people yearn for a spiritual awakening when they don't find it themselves. Like I said, there's multiple ways of having a spiritual awakening. People go to these ayahuascas hoping that this will unlock them for that spiritual awakening. And half the time, or 90, I don't know how many people actually, obviously some people do, but not everyone is just automatically awake. Like I said, this is it's a long fucking process.
There's people that will never
find modern therapeutic applications.
That this clinical rollout be done in a way that treats the therapeutic potential and power of these drugs with respect. And I think that would be the biggest mistake, is that if in a rush to commercialization, that there is a loss of respect associated with development.
Maybe you can walk me through your vision of a psychedelic therapy session.
I think number one, this is not the job of a psychiatrist. Number two, we're not sure that you even want a psychotherapist in the room. Instead, the person that we think should be in the room is an attendant, someone where you feel safe in their presence. Are they certified, medical professionals? Not necessarily, but they bring an instant rapport and an instant comfort, and what they're comfortable with is emotionally intense situations.
With this process, the patients heal themselves, and the need for antidepressants or other long-term prescription drugs could fade away. But the potential for these compounds go far beyond mental health treatment. Multiple studies have found that regular minute doses of LSD and similar compounds have enormous anti-inflammatory effects, potentially offering alternative treatments to everything from asthma to migraine headaches.
We have some very interesting clues that there's much more therapeutic potential just beneath the surface.
The Philosopher's Stone, and that's important too, is the right mushroom.
All of this is not only revolutionary, but potentially disruptive to the estimated $16 billion antidepressant drug market.
When you take a look at some of these compounds and molecules, they're 70, 75, 80% efficacy rates. So that's profound. And that will disrupt big pharma.
Saad Shah leads a venture fund called Noetic, and he is what you would call a true believer.
I mean, it's definitely very personal. It's personal first and foremost because I personally have, drunk the brew.
I got it.
You drunk the brew. Maybe
I had an experience with plant medicine, and it was profound on many levels. I saw the distinct impact that it had on folks that were suffering from cancer. individuals that were suffering from very serious treatment-resistant depression, major depressive disorders, PTSD, anxiety. I knew then and there that there was something here that was incredibly profound.
Okay, so there's certainly a motivation to keep people on drugs. And these compounds often do the opposite, which essentially means there's less money to be made. How is Big Pharma not trying to squash this movement?
If you're finding a market and a product is working, and clearly you've got underlying companies that are going to profit as a result of it, this is going to be of interest to Big Pharma. I think that they will get more and more involved, and I think it's important for them to get involved, because at the end of the day, we need this medicine to go out there to the globe. And you need a distribution platform. Big Pharma has that distribution platform. They're the ones that can help get it out.
Here comes the propaganda.
But that optimism might be putting a little too much faith in a profit-based apparatus that has enabled severe drug dependence, like the opioid crisis in America.
They're going to twist
For
the
these
whole fucking
compounds
chemical.
to truly scale, it's not only our minds, but our entire society that might need a rewiring.
There needs to definitely be a redefining of profit, of capitalism. Profit needs to first be measured in human capital, right? Healing those who have suffered. If we do that right, our investment in the companies will succeed.
Hey, Nathan.
Karen, hey.
I'm always fucking high, dude. Every fucking second of the day. But yeah,
I'm not.
That in most other manipulations remains
definitely
intact.
don't want
intact
Big Pharma
mode network
in
even
this.
under cases of
No.
loss of consciousness.
Like what they did
If
with
we
like
start to see
Marinol.
the shaman's message from the rainforest. Let's check this
There
out.
was a famous experiment conducted in 1962 led by Walter Pankey, who was at Harvard. He was a psychiatrist and in the divinity school there. His supervisor was Timothy Leary. And he had this idea that psychedelics, he looked at different branches of mysticism and religion, and there seemed to be a commonality there. And then he looked at indigenous use of psychedelics, and they seemed to like line up in terms of the experience. So his idea was that psychedelics could induce a mystical experience, and what would it do to religious trainees? So he took a bunch of religious trainees, he put them all in the Marsh Chapel in 1962. Half got high-dose psilocybin, half got a controlled niacin. And what he found is that a very high percentage of those that got psilocybin had full-blown mystical experiences. And they went on to follow these individuals over the next several decades and found that the majority found it one of the most spiritual and meaningful effects of their lives that informed their practice as a religious scholar. In our work with psilocybin and cancer, we found that the mystical experience actually mediated some of the effects, the anti-anxiety and antidepressant effects of psilocybin. There was an older literature that suggested that. And so we're trying to see if religious professionals, given their background perhaps in experience altered states or spirituality, can they make nuanced discriminations about the mystical experience? Can we learn something qualitatively about their experience? And the other more complicated thing, and I have no idea whether this will actually have any effect on religion ultimately. We're not doing this in any way to try to dismantle organized religion. We're just looking. Another way of looking at it is that it could strengthen people's faith in religion, or it could help people have spiritual experiences that are outside the confines of religion. But the religious professionals, we're looking to see if they can unpack the mystical experience better for us.
Eduardo, you have spent time in the Amazon again with shamans and indigenous people who are inducing a mystical experience with almost a religious-like mission. They have a message.
And so I'm just going to pause there and say that, as I said, everybody's spiritual awakening, everybody's spiritual experiences are different. They're either religious, they're spiritual, or they're spiritual and religious. And mine, as honest as I can be, have been mostly spiritual, but as I continue to learn about flat earth and continue to go down this path, I'm more religious with a creator, and not that I know who or what, or I have no answers. These are all non-physical realm. But the best part is that I know it's there. The best part is that I know I'm humble enough to know that I don't have the answers, but there's something fucking there.
Yeah, that's important for people, especially if they believe that there is nothing else, or that death after this life is just blackness or nothing or void. it's powerful to know that there is something. There's something there. And then for me,
Ah,
astral projection let me know, death possibly is going to be one of the most exciting times of this whole last 35 years. If I died today, that when I leave my body after death, I'm going to do, first thing I'd do is a fucking 30-foot slow motion backflip, baby. That's awesome. Like, I'm gonna be
Y'all
happy.
see me now? No, you can't see me now.
Yeah, like just to have that not fearing death
Deadpooling up.
anymore.
You try to fuck and blow yourself up, and you can't
Going
do
out with
shit.
a bang.
No, you're coming back, Corey. You're coming back.
Experience. Take us through a little bit of that and what they are trying to tell us.
Well, the shamans that I work with in the Amazon, this is an image of a trip we were on just about 10 days ago.
So jealous.
They feel the Zapata nation is a small nation. They're a much larger nation.
And let me point out the point of the shamans and the tribesmen, and I point this out in many occasions when I talk about the Indian, or the Native American, however you want to call it, is that they were in tune with Earth. And through my spiritual awakening, I had to become more in tune with Earth, with the connection of everything. And so these people, these types of cultures, they had it down to a true science, a natural science. They didn't need anyone with a lab coat to come in and be paid to tell them what to think. They did it themselves. They experienced it firsthand, primary experience, not secondary experience. They told their kids, go on a spiritual journey. Everyone got to experience firsthand who they were. You know what I'm saying?
And you got to think, why is this stuff illegal? Because it's the stuff is illegal because it's causing these kinds of magical
we could have
spiritual
schools
awakenings
for
and
this. We could have
healings. Dude, we would have shamans. We'd have several shamans on each block if it wasn't illegal. We'd have so much more of a better world. Well,
even if it
some
was
places,
what do you call it? Restricted or whatever you want to say. If there's laws around it and that there was like facilities that facilitated it, they could easily have.
They're starting to be. They're starting to.
That's
have
what I mean.
those,
they're using it as therapeutic ways, but they're trying. But it's for profit. So you got to think like, where does it get twisted?
But see, in those places, Big Pharma hasn't touched those places yet. They're actually just trying to get.
That's why I say the personal use and finding these personal drugs is the way to be. Going on your personal journey and with a good friend, or like the guy said, you don't need anybody to be a therapist. Is not the way to do it. It has to be such a comfortable and suitable connection for you with what's around you. As you said during your experience, who else would it have been if not for me to take you through that? Because you just wouldn't have had that experience with that person.
It would not.
Yeah.
So it's extremely important that you do what's best in your interest.
Before the
also
rubber boom of the
go there
1920s, early 1920s, that almost decimated their society, and their elders tell them that that they're in some ways the spokespersons of the spirit life of the forest to the world, and they have something to say. And in fact, we spent a lot of time talking in that trip to the forest of what I'm supposed to be saying here.
And what is that? What do they want us to know?
They want us to know that the world we live in is a living world where mind is in a constant state of emergence, but that world is under threat, and we need to do something to learn to connect ourselves to that. And in some ways, if
we'll have THC one soon, just so you know.
As individuals may suffer from illnesses like depression, in some sense, we're entering into a planetary depression, where our
awesome Austin, shout out,
expansive forms of thinking are leading us to treat these living spaces as resources.
Much love.
Of a kind of emergent mind.
We're vibing, man. We're
and
vibing.
Their message is to say, look, these are places of possibility, and to continue to have a possibility as a human species, we need to be able to connect with these places and to preserve the possibility of connecting with those places. That's their message.
Define the shaman and how they get to that point, how they're able to convey this message.
Right. When you have a teacher, that's a good point.
So shamans are interesting kind of.
Take that into real life and realize like who the people you go and see the doctor every day. You just pay somebody. You don't know really what they know or what test they passed, or it's always like just because they have a certificate. They have a piece of paper on their back wall that says, I'm qualified to do this.
The biggest problem with those people, biggest problem with doctors,
fucking firsthand experience.
is is those people are taught by books that they had to take tests on. They're controlled
Regurgitation.
knowledge. They're gatekeepers. All this stuff, and they don't even realize it. They're
Absolutely.
they're not as legit as they could be. They're not
100.
there for you. Yeah, they're by the books. It's not
They're
cool.
just in the same string line of generation after generation to be taught the same thing. They read the same book.
Exactly.
They taught the same book. They handed down the same book.
Of a doctor,
from the
and
Masonic school
psychedelics for
system.
them are an interesting kind of a medicine because we usually think of doctors prescribing medicines to patients. Psychedelics are generally the kinds of medicines that doctors take. That's what
drug dealers drug.
Oftentimes, there are many different ways of taking psychedelics in the Amazon, but one of the ways is that the doctor, the shaman, takes the psychedelic, and the patient is there being healed by the person who's taken the psychedelic. Not necessarily in the way that we're often talking about here, where we give it to the patient, right? Those boundaries are sometimes blurred, but their goal is to connect with this larger, to let go of some of the structures of thought that usually hold us, to fall back into this much larger realm of possibilities, and from there to find a direction forward, to see connections we might not otherwise see, and then to act.
You worked with them to create a sound. Let's listen to that, and then you'll describe what it is we're hearing.
What did she say?
I missed it. I was talking. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. No, because we were just talking.
And then you'll describe what it is we're hearing.
Oh, she wants to hear something. Nature. I love that sound. I've been into the rainforest too. I love that. Don't let me ruin it. Sorry.
Just put me there with a fucking pan flute and leave me alone.
Pan flute? Oh shit, and some mushrooms. You go find your own. Yep. You'll have fucking frogs and toads to lick on.
Frogs are my animal that comes up to me. Frogs will hop on my fingers, my hands.
So this is a soundscape of
I'm the squirrel whisperer.
from the forest. We've made recordings with various tape recorders. Manati, the spiritual leader, has one. I have one. A sound artist has one. And you hear what you hear are the incredible orchestra of a communicating universe. On top of that, there's also a shamanic chant recorded during an ayahuasca ceremony. And this is the sort of chant that sort of holds open a space of possibility in a world that is rapidly dissolving and being recreated. On top of that, you also hear 1,000-year-old archaeological instruments that we brought to the Amazon from a museum collection. There you can see one of the instruments there, and we are making a soundscape that will allow people to hear how these instruments and what they were used for. These are instruments that were created in rainforest settings to connect with the mind of the forest. And we're
Mind,
trying
body,
to
and soul.
recreate that and allow people to experience that.
One of the things we talked about a little bit earlier, and maybe each one of you can talk about this, is that we're talking about a sense of oneness, but it can be achieved without psychedelics. Isn't that so? And isn't that one of the things that emphasized in Ecuador and with children?
That's right, Musicians for Truth. Nature never lies.
It's not only psychedelics that can get us there. Is that fair to say? Allison?
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. So what psychedelics are doing is taking advantage of brain chemistry that we know was already there. And part of what that brain chemistry is doing is providing, as Anil said, a much richer range of states of consciousness than we typically think of. We were at a conference really recently where there was a panel about altered states of consciousness, and someone quite sensibly said, what's the altered supposed to be? You could argue that the state of consciousness I think of as professorial consciousness, when we're sitting there at our desks and focusing very carefully on just one thing, like that's a really weird altered state of consciousness compared to most of the consciousness we have most of the time.
So pause that for a sec, Mike.
But I think the more specific thing is that there seem to be these states of consciousness that track the kind of
I'm real
openness and
huge on
flexibility.
states of consciousness and conscious levels and rising in levels of consciousness, dude. I love that part.
So one of the things that they're talking about here is like, well, it doesn't have to take psychedelics to reach this other state of consciousness, heightened awareness state of consciousness, and I believe that.
No, you don't. No,
We,
absolutely not. I did not. I did not find mine through the psychedelics.
really,
They
really.
were just a help.
Really? See, I had an experience a while ago, and I call
He
it my
did.
Jesus experience.
He did.
And I don't know what I took to get to that, other than, and I have to say, like the bottle of cough syrup I drank the day before, or was it the fact that I didn't eat for probably 2 weeks there or a week straight? Like something about not eating, something about taking Robitussin, the combination of the two. I don't know. I've tripped so much on Robitussin back in the college days, and it never took me there. Never did that to me. But something happened in a tent in a backyard, and all I can remember doing was maybe not eating for a week, taking Robitussin and drinking Jaeger.
Oh my God, bro! You just reminded me at the
A week
my
might
first
do it though.
my first time robo
It
tripping,
might.
man.
That's where I'm at with this whole, like, maybe there is something to fasting or simply not eating. I mean, the voice told me very bluntly when I asked it, when I had this, I talked about it on my self-exorcism video on my channel, which I might get into that story here. I think it's very pertinent. Is the voice, I asked the voice, how do I remain this happy and whole and completed? And like, I was fixed. Something happened to me and it fixed me. And I was like, how do I stay fixed? And the voice said so bluntly, stop eating. Stop eating. And it made so much sense to me in so many different ways. I mean, how much crap do they put in our food now? We find out some of our rice is plastic. What are the food? Red dye number 2, yellow dye number 12, whatever, blah, blah, blah. What the hell is that? It's not simply freaking food coloring, because they can make...
No, it's poison, man. No, it's
poison,
chemicals. And they're like, no, it's cool. It's FDA approved.
All right, right? FDA approved bullshit. Yeah, so I think there is definitely something to fasting that is well known for boosting our immune system. But I think if you just stop eating entirely for a whole damn week,
dude, that's
you might
funny
have
that
an
you mentioned that.
experience.
The fasting part is really important because we were just talking about that on Austin's on our little impromptu, that there's parasites all throughout your body, and that fasting and that shock to your body can kill a lot of these parasites, and you can kind of purge your body when you fast and
Yeah, I believe
reset
that.
some things.
Yeah, when I ate the next day, I mean, I ate that night and I woke up back to normal. So I mean, I disobeyed that voice, but it told me, it gave me the message, and all we have
Damn
is
right.
choice.
Insight.
We
Insight,
always
bro.
have choice. Mhm.
No, it's awesome. It's great.
Nice. Brian, what are you doing? Ah, geez, Stewie. Scared the crap out of me. What you got there? Okay, I'll tell you, but you can't tell anyone. You have to be really cool about this. Yeah, of course. These are mushrooms. It's a psychedelic drug. Makes you see weird things and feel happy for a few hours. I figure we're gonna be stuck inside for a while with a storm, so it'll be a fun way to pass the time. Okay. Are you gonna be cool? Oh yeah, I'm totally cool about that.
Yeah, I'm
Yep,
totally
yeah.
cool.
Totally cool.
I asked you a couple times. I'm like, you gonna be cool,
I
bro?
was like, bro, I'm cool, bro.
What was the time that you thought you might be losing it? When did you think you might like trip out a little bit?
Dude, this fucking dude was in front of me walking, and it was my light kept going out.
You had the blue light. He had the
My
fucking
light kept
blue.
going
I had
out,
the
and I was
red.
like, fuck,
I
dude,
had the
need
once
a-
again the
I
red
need a
flag, the
light.
symbolism.
But it was so bright anyway, so I was just
No.
following him. And then
Yeah.
all of a fucking sudden, he turns around and he starts laughing. And he comes to me. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? He had fucking slammed into like this gate post or whatever the hell, just kicked it.
After
and he was
years
in
of just being in
pain.
contractor and or in
He was in
construction and like
pain, but he was
smashing my
laughing.
fingers and cutting myself
It
and
was
surgery,
weird.
pain has turned into laughter. Okay, because I just can't deal with it, so I'm just like, ha, like it's I don't know.
Yeah,
I've switched pain
But
into laughter.
we were just like walking through the woods, like vibing it out, and all of a sudden, I swear to God, he turns around,
Nailed
laughing
my shit, dude.
hysterically. I'm like,
You ever get that like
"What the
funny
fuck?"
bone? Well, that's like
Dude,
me whenever I
split
do
second,
anything now.
I almost lost a
it's funny,
split second. This motherfucker like creeped me the fuck out.
That I have a lot of friends who do it, and they're willing to do it around me all the time because they know I'm so cool about it and I don't judge them. So, go ahead.
Well, here we go.
Yeah, that's what my friends say too. Well, here we go. Oh, dude, I think I can feel it too. I'm getting a context high.
That's probably a thing too.
And you're like, whoa, man, this is pretty cool. Oh man, what is happening? Do you guys see that, man? His balls have
That's what my eyes look like on Robitussin too.
Oh,
There's something
that
to
robo
that.
trip. I couldn't speak. I couldn't walk.
I'm like a
He's petting him.
Robitussin shaman.
I think I'm dying. Jane Fonda. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right, buddy. Totally Jane Fonda. It's gonna be okay. Your pal Stewie is right here.
That's what it looked like when I stared at my bitch's eyes. Yeah.
He's not having a good trip.
No. Could have gone there.
Brian! Hi!
The only problem for me is when I want to go to sleep. And you're like, can you just be done now? And it's like, no, no sir.
I'm milking till I'm over.
The Tussin's bad, Scott. I got stuck on the Tussin, dude. I got stuck. I couldn't speak.
Too.
I was like, oh.
I've done magic with it though.
Wanna have sex?
You cannot think about sex while you're tripping, bro. For me, at least, that shit is another time frame. I cannot. Jesus, Craig.
Slip me some tongue.
Boston
Did you
mud
try
flood.
the chicken, buddy?
I think you gave me worms, Brian.
You can have. Like Christian said, it depends on who you're with.
Brian.
No touching the touching. Whoa! That's what I feel like happened to me right there. Not the
Psychedelic
space part.
drugs are commonly reported to trigger life-altering, mind-expanding inward journeys.
It was too dark.
But since being scheduled dangerous and illegal, any therapeutic benefits have gone
This
largely
isn't part of the Stewie
unrecognized.
thing, by the way.
Mental health treatment hasn't changed in generations, limited primarily to psychotherapy and a broad drug class called SSRIs, or selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors.
So there's been no new drug in psychiatry essentially
that's
since
the part.
SSRIs back in the 1980s.
These drugs have varying results, often with side effects, and can be seriously habit-forming.
Once you get on one SSRI, they've got you for life pretty much.
That's what I mean, man. Once you take any of that crap from the medical system, they've got you for life. Well, this is a good spot to wrap it up. What do you think, Jorge? You got anything else to add?
Oh, I mean, I got tons of stuff I could really say on it. Like, there's magic you can do with this stuff. There's spiritual awakening, that whole discovery of the ego death, and what else is out there There's healing. You can heal your own past traumas. You can go through these bouts of rerouting your traumas to then forgive the abusers and stuff that will take you very far. For example, something that I did on Robitussin one time. I got a couple friends of mine in college were into it just as hard as I was. I went pretty hard on this stuff for a while, and I told them one night, like, let's all do it. And I'm like, I want to try something on you guys. And like, what? I'm like, if you ever left your body before? And they're like, no. Like, what is that? They had no clue about any of that stuff. And I felt the confidence that I could do it. I said, you sit in this beanbag chair, you sit in this beanbag chair. And we had a sober friend of mine, one of my Bible thumping Christian friends, that just kind of laughed at how crazy we were on the shit.
Interesting to me. I've never heard anything like this.
Yeah, so I used to do Robitussin and trip out and stare at the wall for hours going, there is something to this. What could I do with it? Every drug that I take, I
You
don't
were
do it
able
to
to
have
use
fun
Robitussin like in a way that you wanted to go back again and do it again?
Oh, so many times,
Oh my
especially after
God.
this. Oh,
Not for
yeah.
me.
I understand that 100%. I do. Because I spent so much time so
Is that
fucked
the
up I
same as a
couldn't
bad trip on acid though? I mean, I feel like
never
it's
had a
gotta be
bad
different.
robo trip. Well, I did have a bad robo trip, and I'll tell you about that too. Remind me of the bad robo trip, and I'll tell you about that. What's up, Frank?
I was gonna say I did repeatedly. I say repeatedly more than 4 times, like chlorcetins, and so
Chlorcetin
The
cold
pills,
calm.
right? The ones you could
Chlorcetin
buy. I
HI,
remember that was a
like
phase. Go to
flu or
your
some
nearest
shit.
pharmacy, go to your CVS, and they got fucking cold and
How
flu
and
medicine that you
how?
can just get high
Because I
on.
didn't like the robo.
No. I got to correct you before you get anybody dead with that. It's not cold and flu. It's cough and cold. There's a
Sorry.
difference. One has
That's what I
acetaminophen.
drank too, by the way, was the Robitussin cough and cold liquid though.
I don't want anyone
Not
to
the
do it.
pills.
I don't want anyone.
No
to
one
do
should
it.
do
I
it.
don't.
Yeah,
No one
no.
should do it.
You
We're
shouldn't
not.
drink alcohol,
Because
cocaine, heroin, all
I
that
would
crap.
get
Nah, none of
fucked.
that. If it's not natural, don't do it.
It was
I can't think of something that's not that's
pretty
that's
fun. At
natural
that
that I
time,
wouldn't
it
do.
was
What's
pretty fun.
natural that's bad for you though? Like that's like a psychedelic. There isn't one. You know?
I mean, but too much of something.
So I used
That's
to get
too much water. We're too much salt, too much fucking anything, man. You can die off of anything too much. You can do too much stuff. Yes, you can do too much. Nobody said you have to like eat a
I've
garden.
done too many shrooms and that was not good. And
I want to take a lot.
I
of
needed
shrooms.
you there. That would have been fucking phenomenal.
I want to take a lot of as many as I can. You know, I always want to reach that next level of high when it comes to shrooms.
I used to get absolutely stupid tilted on some
Good luck.
Robitussin, and for hours would sit there staring out the window, looking at geometric shapes and colors, and wondering what the hell. And then I found out that you can go sit in a completely dark, pitch black room, and you would then have full blown, open eyed, closed eyed, didn't matter, hallucinations. Your pitch blackness would turn into a fucking movie.
You ever have any
and it
black
would,
lights going on?
It's real.
Any black
No, the
light
best thing.
paintings or any of that 3D stuff?
You don't get no color distortion, wiggly anything on Robitussin. You just go cross-eyed and you feel different until you do what I say.
I will pass.
And until you go in a complete dark room, then Robitussin becomes something even more profound than acid or mushrooms has ever been visually for me. Ever. Like,
But acid in a dark room is pretty awesome.
I haven't tried that yet, so I'll give it a shot.
I would
I know how Robitussin
I wouldn't
is.
even agree to that.
And I'm not
I would
talking
not agree
like,
to that.
I'm not talking like a those chambers, those
Those
there's
black
some
restaurants,
light.
those dark restaurants that you can like.
But I would do
Uh-oh, your mic disconnected, Mike. I can't hear Frank.
and it puts pressure on your eyelids. And if you do that, it like when I did it, I would have the most outrageous visuals. But it was all I feel. I don't know. The blood pressure, all of it like combined was awesome.
Yeah.
But what I told
Shout
my
out to
friends,
everybody in the chat, man. Thanks everybody
Shout
for joining
out,
us,
shout out.
THC fan. Appreciate y'all. All them legends
real.
out there. Christian, Karen, Austin, Lucky, y'all's child,
Appreciate
Scott, Fingers, No Despair Bear, everybody who's in there. Love y'all, man. All the people from Hori's channel, thanks for joining us. Jason
Yes.
Starr, Shelby, Young Love 420. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate y'all showing up. It's been fun tonight. Look at old Josh
Yes.
Corey showing up too. Look at that. All right.
You wrapping up or want me to finish this story I was telling you?
I know. No,
I
no,
want. I
no.
want.
I just wanted to do a shout out because I hadn't said anything to the
Yeah.
chat yet.
I know.
Okay.
A lot of
I want
new
to hear the
people in
story.
here from your channel and everything. So go ahead.
So yeah, I had to set my dudes up. I said, look, you sit in this beanbag chair, you sit in this beanbag chair. I'm gonna try something that my intuition said I can do. And I'm like, well, fuck, if I can do this, I'm gonna show my friends how cool this out of body stuff is. I just
Somebody
felt like I
has an
could do it.
experience. Jump on in here.
100% confident that I can do this. So I told them, sit here. And my other friend was watching, and I guided them through a meditation. Basically, I said, okay, I want you to lay here. I want you to imagine that you're on a floating raft going down a very gentle stream. And what you see is an Amazon jungle. You see these
Shout
big
out Ted Summer.
trees. Oh, hey, Ted. You see these big trees towering over you. You see the big leaves over you, producing some shade. You see the sun rays coming through the trees. You see butterflies flying. I was painting a picture. I was telling them what they saw, what they felt, the floating bobbing of the raft. I painted so much, imagery for them, telling them what they were gonna, smell and see and feel on this floating journey down this river. And then as I'm doing that, unbeknownst to them, I was putting my hand over their head and I was drawing all the heat, all the energy from their head to the middle of their chest, took their hands' energy and their arms' energy, drew it to the middle of their chest, all the energy from their feet and their legs, up their torso, up their belly to their chest. And I then did a shake off of that energy and did a sensory feel. And I could not feel the warmth of their body anywhere but their chest at that point.
My grandma.
And so I then scooped up that warmth in their chest one at a time. I'd done it to both of them, boom, 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 and then I scooped them up like Shang Tsung on fucking Mortal Kombat.
Frank's over here talking about that's real. I know what he's saying. So just so you know, he's over here. He said they do it in the Asian cultures and shit.
I had no clue this was possible. I had 100% confidence I could do it. The voice said try it, and I said, okay, fucking right.
No, yeah.
So
it's a whimsical thing, and it exists.
Wow, that's awesome.
If I could just cut you off, and I'm sorry to say.
Go ahead. I got to relight my joke. Go ahead. What? Tell me what you know.
The thing about it is, if you dismiss anything that you've said so far, no matter what anyone thinks about it, if you dismiss that, you inherently dismiss other people's cultures around the world. Point blank. So if you do that, you then therefore say what this culture, what that culture does is completely wrong. It should be just forfeited off. Just discard it. Disregard it. And that's bullshit. And that's horseshit. And so what you're talking about, and it might be explained differently and understood differently, but Asian cultures believe that qi in Chinese side, qi in the Japanese side, my mom's Japanese, and that stuff is real. Now, a lot of it's the same with the spiritual awakening. Both parties have to be in tune together. It can't be a one-sided thing if you're trying to be in a healing type of situation, right?
Our mission's probably quite involved in that too.
It has to be a connective, and it's almost like if you visualize it, like an energy seeping out from Mike to me and to help, or that is real. And sometimes it's mind with that, and the essence of spirituality, that's all energy, right? And so if you dismiss that, and you don't have to say God doesn't exist or God does, you don't have, it's aside from your religious views, right?
I had no religion incorporated in me at that
whatever.
time either.
But you can still be in tune with just not disregarding other people's cultures, and if you do that,
The
you can learn
open-mindedness
from
of it
other
all.
people.
I think that comes in play a lot. Is like
So
taking,
I hear you, man.
Taking everybody. There's 2,548 man-made religions, and it's like if you just took a little piece of the positive from all those, you'd have one super religion, right? I mean, you just take a little bit of everything from life and experience from life, not just religion, but just like I said, that's where my spiritual journey comes from, is just all the experiences I've had. I'm adding them up to like realize what things are now, and I can see the fucking through the shit, man. and
So
it's different. It's different.
So I'm telling them, what to feel, what to smell, what to see, how to feel floaty, blah, blah, blah. And I'm doing all this without them knowing. I pushed all their energy from all the parts of their body to their chest, and I scooped up this mass of warmth from their bodies, from their chest, and I just picked one of them up and put him on that corner of the ceiling, and I did the same thing to the other, put him up to that corner of the ceiling, and I sat there in silence for a minute, and I looked at my friend who was sober, my Christian Bible thumping buddy, and I was like, all right, we're going to give him a minute to experience this. And I said, he's over there and he's over there, and then we're gonna wake him up and see what this felt. And then I wake up my first friend first. I tap him. I say, "Hey, wake up, wake up!" And he wakes up and he jolts awake, like whoa, like he got shocked by electricity. He's like, first thing he does is point before he could even get a word out. He points to the exact spot that I put him, and he's like, all of a sudden I felt something weird and vibrating, buzzing on my chest, and then all of a sudden I could see you guys.
Shit.
And I was up there looking down. I was looking down at you guys. And he was freaking out. And I'm like, okay, let's wake up Tony. But Tony took the wrong Robitussin. He did the shit with acetaminophen in it. So I'm like waking up, trying to wake up Tony. He ain't waking up. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't kill Tony.
Tony.
I'm like slapping Tony. I'm like slapping the piss out of Tony. I'm beating the shit out of Tony. Finally, Tony wakes up. He says the same exact thing. He points to the opposite corner where I put him. And same thing. I felt something in my chest, and I could see you guys. And I mean, my mind went poof. Their minds went poof. My Bible thumping friend went.
However, you got to get there. It's different for everybody.
That changed my life at that moment. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to even have that confidence if I wasn't in high school all the time saying, "Hold out your hand. Let me try this. Let me try this. Experiment. Until that point. Very powerful stuff. We are very powerful creatures,
Yeah, we are. No joke.
And Robitussin of all things. Robitussin, like my eyes get like on some Robitussin. It's insane. So yeah, and the energy in self, the healing and stuff, you could feel the pressure. When I make an energy ball right now, I can feel the pressure and the tingling. But when I'm on Robitussin doing it, it's way more concrete. It's way more enhanced feeling everything. So I don't know what they're doing and with that cough syrup shit, but I've tried to figure out what I could do with magic with each thing I've taken, whether it's mescaline or acid or shrooms or whatever. And I've found that there's magic in everything that alters your consciousness. There's some kind of benefit to it. And most people, they'll do acid and watch pretty colors and fire spinners and glow sticks and all that shit. And that's cool too, but you're not getting any spirituality out of watching visuals. When you play with the magic and try shit, it's when you'll blow your mind.
I really just think that no matter what it is you do, I think that psilocybin is the way to unlock a different way of thinking, whether it be the spiritual awakening or whether it be like how the government does things or what it is in your personal life or your relationship with your father, or it really can unlock many multitudes and many avenues. It's not just based on one spiritual journey or one spiritual thing. It's pretty wild stuff. And as the research shows, the fungal system in this ecosystem is what creates sustainability, right? It's the rebirth. It's the mycelia. It's rejuvenation, and that's truly one of the most epic things in this ecosystem is this. The recycle is what the mushroom is part of.
That's Amanita muscaria right there. That's that one's special right there. I gotta try that one day.
Those are hard.
The fly agaric. You can order them from eBay. They're legal.
Oh really?
Yep.
Yeah, mushrooms cleanse.
Oh no, then I must be thinking of a different one.
Mushrooms always cleanse.
Those are legal, and they make you trip, but they're highly toxic. So you got to know what you're doing with those. Yeah, I know a bit about that stuff, but I could go on and
mushrooms on my food. Right? I can't stand mushrooms. Eating mushrooms, like the mushiness of them, I don't like them. But when it comes to psilocybin mushrooms, it's a whole nother world for me because of the spiritual effects. I love it. I mean, I can't explain enough. Like I said, I have this. I'll show y'all my little mushroom on my arm. I live by that shit.
Blow it up. It's so tiny.
Is it?
Blow your screen up.
Oh, there you go.
You got YouTube screen up full blast.
That's right.
Let's see that. Yeah, yeah, look at it. That's
I love
cool.
that guy.
I live this shit.
I love mushrooms.
I could get into a whole conversation about my God telling me, the voice telling me I had a demon in me when I took some acid one night, and how he guided me to push that demon out. And then I had no more depression. I had no more addiction to marijuana. I had no more feelings of needing a girlfriend and a lover and a relationship partner. And I would stop watching porn and masturbating. I mean, that lasted a whole month and a half until I had a really bad dream. And then that gets into what other demonic entities are trying to fuck with you to make you back into that depressive state. Get into a whole conversation about that. But my whole account and that whole
That's beautiful
experience,
right there, dude. I
that
love
that
that.
that whole experience was recorded. I spoke about it on my self-exorcism video titled on my YouTube channel, if anybody wants to check that out. And then it led into like how the worms in the ground were coming up and talking to me, and the little tiny slugs as tiny as my pinky fingernail came up to me and watched me like the rabbit in the woods watched you guys. And they sent a message to me, and the message was, "Hey, asshole, this yard that we live in is toxic. Fix it. You're the keepers of this land, and you're fucking up." And that was really touching to me and sad at the same time. I talked about all that on my channel.
There's that ODD
yeah.
video, you know, and at the end it
Real.
shows the dude running through and chopping shit up, and
Dude,
remember,
that part, he's like,
and he's like, "Ee-hee-hee," and he's so happy, right?
And he's like skipping through, making the trees into money. He like touches the tree and it puffs into money. He's like, dee-dee-dee-dee-dee.
And he's
It's
chopping
such a-
bears' heads
actually,
off
it's
and
a
slapping it on the
fucking,
wall.
like-
You know, it's just like we are ruining everything we touch. The human race is as wild as we are. That's what I mean. Like we're just we live a short and destructive life, and this mass awakening could change the way we treat our plane. We're treated like shit, man, and we treat each other like shit. We treat ourselves like the most shit, which is
We're the stewards of this
disturbing
earth.
at the least.
We're
The
given
way that we
dominion over
treat
these creatures.
ourselves is just so disturbing because of the way that we're bred.
And it
It
trickles
is-
down into the smaller creatures that we have control over. They feel this. They don't like us for a damn reason. And
That's what
I
I mean
understand
by
that
we're
now.
all connected. And I'm understanding that if I help my enemy, I'm helping myself. You know, that kind of thing. I know that's very zen or whatever you want to call it, but it is true in all sense that karma is a real, and
Karma's real.
we're connected, and we're put out a certain energy. And if we just had all this better lighted energy, this better positive energy, everything would be better. It would, because we would just perceive a better life. You know, and it's just, God damn it. I wish people would wake the fuck up.
That's my goal.
Shroom
That's my mission
compost-
in life.
Compost is really good.
Yeah, it is. It
It's-
is also my mission
it's
in
really
life.
good.
I feel you. And it's so. What's great is the diversity of people that have woken up, that want to wake others up. You know, when it comes to you want to, like I said earlier, when I experience something, the first thing I want to do is look around the room or look around where I am and share it. And that's what it, you know, and that's compassion and insight.
Yeah.
Like that video I showed you, you know, and so who would I to be selfish to have what I have and not want to tell somebody about it or share how to get it? And you know, and it's that inward journey is that I can't actually teach you how to get it. You have to find it yourself, and it's inside you. I promise you that. I promise you that you can find it.
But you've
And
been
now we have-
unswayed this entire time. I've seen you from start till now. You've been unswayed throughout, you know, and that's what's, you know, not many people can say that, but it's a real thing.
Something
And
happened to
so,
me, some non-physical
you know,
energy,
I'm
and
not
that's
a-
why I say that a lot now is non-physical. I don't know what even to call it. You know, what the fuck do you
Yeah.
call spiritual awakening? What do
I
you?
don't
How do
know
you
what
put
to
your
call
finger
it.
on that? How do you draw it on a piece of paper? How do you sell it? How do you box it up?
My grandma would say enlightened.
It's all of those things, man.
Being enlightened.
It's Neo
but
at the
it's
end of the
still
fucking
con-
movie when he's like, and he
Yep.
sees through
That-
and he gets rid of the
that's it.
shell that was on him, and he can
Yep.
stop bullets. And the bullets to me is all the fakeness in life and like the non-real essentials. The essentials is the earth, your connection with the earth, one, your connection with yourself, the essentials, man.
Yeah, the essentials. Bring it back to the
That's
basics.
it. I watched those movies in my VR set in my own private theater, all 4 movies in a row, back to back to back. It was like a 36-hour day and
Shout out
about
Steven
6
Spears.
Red Bulls. What's that?
I just when I see somebody in the
no,
chat, I just hit
Steven.
him with the shout outs. Shout out Steven Spears did a video for
Not
him.
to cut you off, but yeah, Steven.
No, yeah, I thought you were talking to me. Yeah, hey, Steven. Yeah, like totally, dudes. You know, the movie The Matrix is really dropping a lot of truth, especially in that fourth one, man. Whew, if y'all haven't seen the fourth one, people are
I'm
sleeping
not doing it.
hard.
I'm not doing it.
You're not doing what? Not gonna watch
So
it?
you'd have. We'll talk later after the show, but you'll have to sell me on why I should watch it.
I
When
gotta watch
you
it
posted
from
that shit, I'm the one who
first
called it out. That it says NWO. Did it not say that shit? And you didn't even say. It's like
Oh,
Jesus,
bro.
man.
Oh, look. You know how they give us truth and then they try to twist it too into their own agenda? That's all. You know, it's a controlled thing, but I know what they twisted. If you have eyes to see, I know what they twisted. They got
See, look.
special love and unconditional love mixed
Chat, how do you feel
together.
about Matrix 4? Who saw the Matrix 4? How do you feel about it? Yes or no? Should I go see the Matrix 4? Is it worth a
See, Steven says it's pure shit, but if you're watching the storyline, I
Not just
understand
shit,
it.
but pure shit. The best kind.
If you're just in it for the storyline and to see what happens with Neo and all that, I can understand why you say it's pure shit. But if you can see the truth bombs when it comes to love and the power of love, it's deep and it's meaningful, so meaningful. And it's hitting on some real truth. I can only say that because I've been through very, very unique experiences. I've had experiences where two guys, 6 foot tall. I'm 5'3", 116 pounds soaking wet. I had two guys that were 230 pounds or more, big football linemen, 6 foot people, trying to pick me up off the ground, and they couldn't. And nobody could explain how that was possible, but I think I know why. Let me ask you a question.
Shit, bro.
My correlations with Neo is unreal.
That's
it's,
how I
it's
feel.
Scary.
I think that's how we all should feel. I say this all the time, that it's not just me. It's always the boy that wants to be the superhero, and you know that it's dumb to think that way because it's not going to ever happen, right? And then it does
That's what
happen.
they want us
You're
to
like,
think.
what the fuck?
That's what they want us to think.
That's what they want
And
you to think. They want
I'm telling
They
you.
put it in movies so that you'll think it's not true.
All I hope is that I'm not the only one that can do what I've been through. That's all I'm going to say, because I don't want to be like Neo in the
What you
movie.
talk
He
about,
very
I haven't
humble.
experienced any of that. You know, I have no idea what you're talking about, and I don't know if other people can tell me that they've experienced what I've. You know what I mean? So it's like
I should be in jail right now, you know. But cops with guns and tasers ran from me after I kicked a nurse 6 feet into a wall. Why am I not arrested? No, they're scared of me. And I've done some research on my own name. Saint Germain is a very prominent figure. If you look at him, he's all about ascended master, purifying of the soul, unconditional love. And then I'm on this whole breatharian thing. I want to stop eating food. God told me stop eating. And guess what? He was one of the first teachers of what? Breatharianism. It's in my blood. I'm very much here for a reason, and I'm still understanding my mission.
We are all here for a reason. Shout out to that, man. Everyone is unique, and everyone is special. And
that's why I'm pushing people that aren't awake to their own gifts and powers, to push them to try things, to open their own minds so that they too believe they're like me.
I agree with that so much.
All the way.
People that are not awake to their own gifts and powers.
All the way.
That's amazing.
Not just about the knowledge that's kept from us, but our own innate ability to heal others through the power of unconditional love. And I think God, if you want to call it creator, source, light, like the Indian guy in the first movie we watched, like we don't know what to call it, but there is this other source. And I think at the core of that is unconditional love. And when you channel that, when you can have that for your fellow man and your murderers, your rapists, your child molesters, you can unconditionally love them still. That's when you become a Neo.
Yeah, that's my word. Jesus right there.
I don't know why I had that experience where I called myself Jesus, because at that time I was all about making fun of Jesus and religion, and Jesus was nothing to me. And I called myself Jesus. Like, that was not normal for me at all. And I'm still putting those puzzle pieces together to figure out how I got to that experience and how I can get back to that experience. And I think I'm onto it. I think I need to go breatharian and stop eating food, kill the parasites in me. And one day I'm going to come back on here. And when I do, I'm going to have...
Steven, you said you wanted to jump on, right?
Yeah.
A whole different persona.
Here you goes the link right here, Steven.
We'll check in with you.
No, and you know, and that's the thing with, I say how patient you need to be. And when when people want that spiritual awakening, and it's like knowing you're going to get a new car from your dad on your 18th birthday the next morning, and something happens with your insurance and you got to wait because you got to go to the DMV, and you're like, fuck, man. every turn, it seems like we can't get this done because of this or this or that. And I want this thing so badly. And it's like, you know, and those are kind of emotions and those kinds of feelings are all gone now. It's because once you have patience, once you have acknowledged that those things that you can't change, man. And you
I'm
got, when
gonna
you
ask
say,
you.
let it,
I'm gonna ask you a powerful question, guys. I want y'all both to answer this question. This is a tip on how to embody unconditional love. Let's say a stranger, you're walking down the street with your girlfriend, or just by yourself. Let's make it a little bit easier. By yourself, and random stranger just walks up to you and slaps you right in the face. What are you gonna do, guys?
that's an easy one, man. I'm going to defend myself.
That's
Okay.
If anybody knows me, that's not a good idea.
that's
Is
not
that just what you
because
gonna do, Frank?
my reaction, well, first it has to be the visual. I have to see who hit me. If it's some old lady and she's pissed off at the world and she smacks me, my
It's a
reaction
dude.
is
It's
different
a
than
dude.
if it's
It's just that the guy is about your size, maybe bigger even. Maybe he's looking ugly. Maybe he's all gangstered up. Maybe he's wearing one of those
I'm going to make sure he's not
going on a
masks,
6-day crack binge. I'm
throwing
punching his
gank
ass.
lines.
I'm going to make sure he's
Yeah,
not mentally retarded. I mean, there's this
Yeah, if, you know,
okay. Well,
if I
he's not
know that
mentally retarded. He's a thug. He's a gangster.
I'm
He's got.
well, then
fucking him up.
I'm gonna go straight for the elbow.
You never
because
know.
my
I'm going to
fists
look
aren't
for
big, but
weapons,
my
and I have
elbows are sharp.
I have reaction
Right.
time. You never know when those
That's
kind of reactions.
that's the answer that I expect to hear from most people. Now, what if I
But
told you what?
go ahead.
What if I told you when you're encompassing and embodying unconditional love that you will first
When you
try to
Gandhi it
dodge
up and you're like true fucking pureness and whatnot.
when you're the most pure you could possibly be. The way
I
the way
feel
that
you on that. I
the
feel
way
you
you're
on
gonna
that.
react, the way you're gonna react to that is you might have got hit and couldn't even see it to dodge it. Let's say you got slapped and you just like, okay, if you're in pure unconditional love being embodying that to the highest form, you're not going to attack back. You're going to ask questions and figure out what part of that other human being's anger or demonic attachments acted through him to make him hit you. You're going to try to understand where his pain is coming from. You're going to try to help that person overcome the act that he just purported on you or acted on you. You're going to try to figure out what in his past caused him to do what he just did. You're not gonna want to attack back. You don't want to hurt him. You don't want to hurt him back. Yeah, this is
bam. What you slapping me for, fool?
But that's true. But if that fool is out his fucking mind,
what?
I'm gonna say, "Hiya, motherfucker!" No, I'm not dismissing you.
And Frank, at that point, Frank, it becomes a battle of muscles and power. But when you're unconditional,
Frank
when
knows
you're
I'm a black belt in Taekwondo. He's seen me hit the bag.
right.
Like, we don't play around.
He's come to the gym, kick the bag.
We live in the city, man. We live in Virginia Beach. People are wild. They'll shoot, stab you out of nowhere. You got to take care of yourself around here.
But
I'm gonna tell you right now.
Flying, I'm not gonna kill it. I'll catch it and put it outside.
I'm gonna move shit outside from now on. I do that now.
That's how I've been for quite a while too.
Come close to my family, I'm gonna fucking take your ass out.
Yeah,
as best as I can.
If you're with my
without
family,
having,
no question.
You know, without maiming.
What if the secrets to obtaining your superpowers is not to attack back, but instead love that person so hard that you're trying to help them never want to do that again?
I can
That's
tell you that
where muscle and power and muscle and brawn will not beat unconditional love. That's when your superpowers will really come.
I can definitely tell you that since my awakening, I have done a lot of things. I've saved my neighbor's life, and I've never. But the one thing that I haven't had, that I have had my whole life before my awakening is fighting. I haven't had any fighting. I haven't had any jail. I haven't had any. I haven't. I did turn into a spiritual being, and I know how to react to those situations now. So they don't even arise. Like, okay, I avoided
Oh yeah,
that
you can
shit.
totally avoid it now. When you're at that point, you can see it before it happens, kind of thing. Yeah, I know what you mean.
I have that's one of my gifts is perception, man. Is I can see shit coming, and I know where to be at the right time and when not to be where it looks like it's not safe. And you're just like, you can
Absolutely.
fucking feel.
But that's martial arts too. Which martial arts is a level of being in tune with spirit.
Somebody has to explain.
Without me going through martial arts in my younger age, I think it ties into what I know now.
Somebody has to explain to me how 300-pound grown, strong-ass bodyguards of the psych ward couldn't grab a leg of mine each and pick me up and move me into a room. I was a statue glued to the floor, and they couldn't budge me.
I know.
Somebody
I
has
know.
to explain this to me. And I think I know why. It's because
It's
I
been
didn't want her to
documented
back.
where there's been there's been times of superhuman strength.
That's what I'm talking about. And those times of superhuman strength, that person was exhibiting an act of love to help somebody, were they not?
It's like the person
I know.
picking up a car to
Hold
save
on,
a
hold
kid.
on, everybody.
Lifting up that car to help somebody, right? That love act, that act of love is powerful.
You know what?
Oh, we got a guest in the house. We got Mr. Steven
like
Spears. Welcome, Steven.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey, buddy.
Hey, Steven.
Hey.
Good to see you on stream finally. I know we've
Hell
talked
yeah.
in chat plenty. How'd that
Yeah, I
work
know.
out
It's
for you?
been just chat tag forever and a day.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it was.
Oh yeah.
How you been?
Not too bad, man. Fucking living the dream for those who can up here in Nodak.
Where's that?
North Dakota. I'm in Grand Forks.
Oh, so I'm not. That's so west. I wouldn't even have caught that. That's good. No
Right?
doubt.
Hell yeah. But yeah, man, the joke is, the reason that fucking North Dakota is so cold is because Montana sucks and Minnesota blows.
That's hilarious.
Oh, that's awesome, man. So, do you have a psychedelic experience you want to share with everybody?
Yeah, I can share a few. I'm personally a big proponent of psychedelics. I've had my mushroom days. I'm more of a Lucy guy than a shrooms guy, but like I don't turn my nose up at shrooms. I'm trying to think of a good experience because there's just so many to choose from.
Holding those memories is tough too,
Right. Well, and it's more how do you verbalize something, because a lot of this stuff, the reason why psychedelic experiences are so unique is that we have a hard time translating our experience into the limiting language of English for the most part. It's like I've had so many experiences where I was like, man, if I could just like pull what I saw out of my head and plug it into you, because
it's overwhelming.
Okay, great. Okay, great example of that. So, prior to me starting to work on my first book, I was hosting a house party back in Panama City, Florida. I had my homeboys, Mike and Drew, my lieutenants, for lack of a better word. We were walking into my bedroom to post up and everything, and like I blacked out for it wasn't even like maybe 5 seconds. I just left my body. I just fell into a heap right there on my bed, and I'm floating in this field of infinite nothingness. It wasn't like outer space where there's like distant stars or nothing. It was just like this utter void, just complete blackness. And I see this being of light that comes towards me, and it's an entity, obviously a living thing, but it's not man, it's not woman, it's not alive, it's not dead, it's not human, it's not animal, it's everything and nothing at once. And I'm looking at this thing, and I'm like, and I think to myself, that like this thing is like infinitely more powerful than me, lived infinitely longer than me, had all this vast breadth of experiences. And I thought to myself, I want to understand. I want to know what you know. And the second I thought that phrase, I want to understand, it was like I was flooded with these billions of millions of like snapshot images. Because like I think in picture a lot, I like when I have a lot of experiences, there's no sound involved in it. I see images and I process the world through visual images and imagery. And so it helps me understand the nature of metaphor in a lot of indigenous folkways, because that's the way they spoke. But back to this original point. So, like I said, I get these snapshot images, like just a blip, 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 and each of them means something, but I don't have a point of reference for any of it. But the way it hits me, I see this big picture, and all of this hits me so fucking hard, so fast that like I shot upright. Like I said, I'd fallen on a heap on my bed in my room, and I just set bolt upright, and couldn't have been 5 seconds, but the experience was some indeterminate amount of time. And my buddies Mike and Drew are like, "Steve-O, what the fuck just happened?" And I look at them, I'm like, "I understand now." And they're like, what do you mean you understand? I'm like, I understand everything. And they're like, what? And so they're like, yeah, that's for real.
That's what I said.
And so like, as soon as I opened my mouth to try to explain what the fuck it was, I'm still trying to process, like all of it like goes away. Yeah, there wasn't even words for it. And, but I had like these 7 things. So I had these 7 things, and I didn't realize that they were fucking rituals at the time. I just knew it was like, you remember like in Close Encounters of the Third Time where Buddy was fucking building that mound, and he didn't know what the fuck he was doing. He didn't know why. He just knew it was.
He was just doing it because he was told to do it. Just like anybody who runs up in a church and starts blazing people because God told them to. You're like, what?
Yeah. But so I'm like, there's these 7 things, and they're different optical illusion effects, and like, I started like rigging up fucking, I rigged up my ceiling fan so that I could attach glow sticks to it to adjust the speed. Now I know it sounds crazy and shit, but like I said, I was rigging this up to where I could create these light patterns at a steady rate of speed. And I'd rigged up a strobe light in there to where how like if you fucking set up a like you've got a fan and you've got a strobe light going and it looks like the fucking blade's going backwards.
Right.
Like
the timing of
they're
your
going,
vision.
they look like they're going clockwise, or and you can adjust that and make them stand still. Well, I had this shit rigged up to where these fucking fan blades were like going clockwise or counterclockwise, and the glow sticks were going clockwise at the same time. And like it was just like this trippy ass fucking visual effects. I was doing these bowls of light and shit, and like I said, and at the time I didn't understand what the fuck it was about. But there were 7 of these fucking things that I was doing, and each thing had to do with a specific illusion. And are you familiar with that term, piercing the veil? Have you ever heard that phrase before? Piercing the veil. What?
Nope.
So what that's in reference to is the 7 veils of illusion. There are 7 veils of illusion that blind us and bind us into subjugation in this phase of existence. And, just like a bride or a widow's veil, it's something that blurs or obscures. 1 makes things a little fuzzy. If you've got 7 stacked in front of your face, you're completely fucking head blind, and you have to be led by the hand from the cradle to the grave. And you see that in the fucking world all around us. The second somebody isn't told where to be, what to do, down to the fucking most minute detail, they just nut up and they're just fucking frozen in place waiting for input. It's because they're blinded by the veils of illusion.
That's what happened to me.
Waiting for the next update.
Yeah, and so when you pierce these veils or transcend them, you tear them asunder, it falls away, and now it no longer blinds and obscures you. And so each of these 7 rituals that I had retained understanding of tied to one of these 7 veils of illusion. And the people I was around at the time, they're like, Steve-O, what the fuck is this, man? I'm like, I don't know. I just know it's important. They're like, where did you fucking learn this? I'm like, man, I don't know. It came to me. And so, like I said, I kept doing this shit over and over again. And eventually got to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm doing these 7 things. Well, what the fuck is happening each time I do this? I had this one, I call it going forward and reverse. And it would fuck with the flow of time. Like shit would get, like time would get really screwy when I would do this fucking thing. And I went through and like I said, I cataloged what each of these 7 things was fucking with. And it's the 7 veils of illusion. Time, space, knowledge, life, possessions, power, authority. All these things are very, very real, but they're all illusions. And the way you can identify what's an illusion or not is you ask 2 questions. And if the answer to both of these questions is yes, you're dealing with an illusion. Is it quantifiable and is it transcendable? If the answer is yes and yes, then you're dealing with an illusion. Let's talk about time. You've been fostered under the concept of a linear perception of time. You got past, present, and future in a straight line. That's patently false. All time occurs simultaneously. It's more like a pool of water. That's why you have deja vu, past life experiences, clairvoyance, psychic phenomena of that nature, because you're
Premonition.
just seeing different spots in the body of water that you're in right now.
Yep. Yep.
But
I can tell you premonitions happen to me so much. I see, I have dreams and they show up that day, sometimes a whole year later. But yeah, time is definitely not a linear thing as we perceive it.
I was talking to somebody about that the other day.
Yeah. So, registering that time is fluid and not linear. Like I said, it has to be quantified down to seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, years, millennia. It has to be broken down into bite-sized pieces. Otherwise, it just slips through your fingers like trying to fucking hold a fistful of water, literally.
Well, I'll go camping or something and not give two shits what day it is. Like
yeah, and without that quantification, that
without a clock
illusion
around
does
or
not
something
bind
telling you
you.
what it is. Yeah, you don't know.
Yeah. Now you hear a certain song, or you smell a smell, or you see something, and like you're instantly transported back to like when you're a little kid waiting for those cookies to cool in grandma's kitchen, or you're with your first sweetheart, trying to fucking make it to third base, or what the fuck ever it is. But like I said, there are keys that can allow you to instantly transcend that time. You can watch an old video and be like, holy shit, man, I barely remember doing that. And like, boom, you're back into that place again. Quantifiable and transcendable. That's what makes it an illusion. Now let's talk about space, and I don't mean like outer space, all that bullshit. I'm talking about like physical distance. You have to quantify that shit into fucking inches, feet, kilometers, acres. This is my box, that's your box, there's the line, over here, over there. Without that quantification, space is just it is, and like right now, we're in three completely different physical locations separated by thousands of miles or more. I know you're in Virginia, I'm in North Dakota. I'm not sure where Buddy's at, but like I said, we're all fucking spread out. And yet we're talking in real time. We have transcended that illusion of physical space. But we can quantify it down to the fucking quarter of an inch.
Well, that's what I mean by everything exists. That's like a philosophy that I go by, is the Alan Watts, is that everything exists in the now and there's no past. It doesn't exist anymore. And there's no future that hasn't happened yet. The only thing that exists is the now, and it is not something you can measure because it's always gone, it's always there, it's always not there. So what the fuck is that? That's not time. That's something that someone made up.
Right.
Is time.
Well, like I said, time is a thing. The thing that it is an illusion. See, then that's the double-edged sword on this, is the 7 veils of illusion. That's what makes reality real. That's how all of this that's around us, all of this that we put so much fucking importance on, we make it real through these veils of illusion. Now, understanding them, identifying them, transcending them, and mastering them allows you to be a master of reality. It allows you to manifest more effectively what you desire. It also helps you truly understand what it is you actually
Wait, now
desire.
say that one more time. Let's back up, because that's gonna make me, give me a hard on, is this manifesting what's happening. And what'd you just say? Back up what you were saying.
Fuck, man, I do free association speaking. I can try.
But man, I hear it.
So like I said, see, that's the thing with these 7 veils of illusion. We use them to manifest. The people that are in control right now, see, they understand all this shit. That's the whole thing. And that's one of the reasons why I'm not comfortable with the whole like truth or label, because the cats that are actively working against us are truthers too. They know the fucking truth.
The Illuminati started out as a truth club, just like the community we have. It is a cult that started to embed themselves across the land in order to
Mm-hmm.
take over, and it started. Their enlightenment became greed, hunger, money, and power. They
Right.
started out
Well,
with
see, it's
with the presence to enlighten others, and now it's just it's enlightenment for profit, which doesn't exist.
well
It's a
here's my thing about the Illuminati. I identified them as because I my thing on numerology is like way much different than a lot of people's, and that's a whole nother discussion. And so we'll just put a pin in that one. But when talking about the Illuminati, and Freemasonry and everything, see, there are three branches. There are the Freemason Society, there's the Illuminati, and there's the Shaddai Templars. Each has, just like you got with the Abrahamic faiths, it's demographic marketing. Each of these groups has a demographic that they're out to manipulate and control. The Freemason Society handles they're basically the middle managers and shit. That's why every fucking incorporated city in the world has a Masonic temple, and it's the first step, because those are the city
All our
planners. Those are
schools.
the people. Those are the people who actually fucking run and organize. They're the ones like the little fucking kid building his city with the fucking Legos and the Hot Wheels. That's the fucking Freemasons. Now, the Illuminati, they deal primarily with celebrities, entertainment, the talking heads, and the media personalities and shit. The folks that fucking influence the psyops. That is the Illuminati. That's why you see all these fucking sports figures doing this fucking diamond shit with their hands and covering their eyes and all that fucking rah shit. Because, and again, what is
all over the place.
the unifying factor? Every one of them are celebrities. They're entertainers. Sports figures are entertainers, actors. You notice that politicians are Freemasons. Why? Because they're orchestrators. The Illuminati's uses earlier with the saying, if you can't blind them with brilliance, baffle them with bullshit. That's what the Illuminati does. They fucking sparkle and
the word
sprinkle
entertainment
and
is to distract. A lot of people confuse the word with entertainment as a party or as a happy time. The word
It's a
entertainment in
distraction.
itself is to distract you from what
Yep.
is in front of you. It's just a shadow puppet over here that you're looking at while something else is going on.
Look at the right hand, so you're not paying attention to the left hand. Now,
Give them
then
bread
the
and
third
circus.
branch is the Shaddai Templars.
Now,
the Shaddai
is
Templars,
you going to get into the blood rituals, the magic, the dark magic? Is that what they do?
Well, every one of them fucks with that. I mean, that's again, that's Kabbalism, and that's the unifying factor between these three organizations. The Shaddai Templars, you're most familiar with them under the name Shriners. You're the Shrine Circus that comes to the little town, and the fucking guys with the goofy hats and shit like that. And those are Shaddai Templars. Those are Shaddai Templars. Those are the ones that run these Scottish Rite hospitals and shit like that. Their demographic is keeping the poor under control. That's why they take, like, if some fucking poor dude, his fucking kids eat up with cancer from the glyphosate that the Illuminati dude told him to fucking buy because it's got the fucking cool cartoon on the box, the one that the fucking Freemason made sure fucking stays stocked on the shelves, Oh, boom, now my fucking kid's got cancer and shit. Well, they fucking bring him into the Scottish Rite Hospital. Now you're beholden to these people. Now you're going to fucking do free PR for them and shit. It is all fucking interrelated. But like I said, it's three distinct branches: the Freemason Society, the Illuminati, and the Shaddai Templars. And a lot of people.
I appreciate I appreciate the input. We're running a little bit late, so I'm going to wrap it up right there. It's a perfect time.
Yeah, because I could go on for fucking months.
And I'm sure we'll have you on again, man. You got a lot of great information, and bring, the Templars and the Freemasonry and the Illuminati. That's a whole nother episode that I could have.
Hey, can I plug my book real quick to your audience?
Of course, man. No, I'm not going to kick you off right yet. I was just going to say, go ahead and do your goodbyes, and then I'm going to do the same for Hori, and then we're going to get on out of here.
Hell yeah. Well, thanks, guys. Hey, order my book, The Elder Futhark by Stephen Spears at stevenspears.com. I have
throw your link in the chat, Stephen.
Yep, 10-4 will do. Thanks, guys. Much love. Have a great one.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for joining us. Definitely thanks for joining us, man. We'll have you on again.
Hell yeah.
All right, Jorge, let's do our goodbyes here. I got a little something to say after yours.
Yeah, so I just want to say thanks for having me on. Thanks for letting me share a couple of my stories. You know, some of the stories that I said, I just kind of touched on just to kind of give you like a more condensed version to quickly run through some of the things. I did a couple of episodes recently. My 3 most important videos I'd like everybody to check out is We Are Magical, episode 1 and 2, and my self-exorcism video. Between those 3 things, I think everybody will understand what the hell I've been through, why the hell I say the things that I say. And like I said, I'm here to help people wake up to their true gifts, their true powers. And, you know, I'm here to push the envelope and to watch it bend and to hope for that you guys do the same thing, because this world is not what it seems. They're trying to control our thoughts, and by our thoughts, they control our actions. And if we let both of those things happen, they might as well say they have control of our very souls. So
Beautiful,
thank you, guys.
dude. And yes, 100% I agree with you there, man. And I'm here to wake people up too. So we're in this journey together.
Right on.
You are my fucking wake up brother that, you know, with a truther brother, the family, all that, man. Thanks for having you.
Yes.
It's been great.
Thank you, man. Nice meeting you.
Oops.
Yeah, same. Nice to meet you. I just said the same thing. Cool.
I'll catch you on Oculus sometime.
Yeah, let's play some Pop 1, baby.
Late.
Peace out, guys.
Thank you, man.
Frank, hell of a show. Thanks for joining us, THC fam.
Thank you.
Will join us next week, same time, Saturday at 5 p.m. It's been a hell of a show. I'm going to show one last little video that I wanted to show, and then I'm going to cut it out after that. So if you want to stick with me for 2 seconds while I bring this up, this shit's pretty fucking hilarious.
So don't be frightened of your passion and your dark energy. Please use it in this. So if you find you've got feelings coming up, then just use it more in the practice. So first of all, you need to build it up. Put our hands on the belly, like this. You can put the thumbs up if you like. It's to make contact with our source of power, the hara, the tantien, center of energy in the body. And when I say breathe out,
put you down on the bottom there.
and you blow out a black smoke, which is all the negativity, the tiredness, anything that is pain in your body, just breathe it out. And you keep your breath out, and you tighten the body. And first of all, you look to the right, and you imagine all this energy around your body, and you feel yourself pulling it in. But you tighten the hold of the body, looking to the right, pull the energy in, looking to the left, and the same. Pull it in here with your mind.
People have told me that I'm just faking what I
look up.
say, and that I'm not actually, I don't have powers, and that I...
Pull the energy down into your body. And lock it in the belly. Look up, look up! Hard, hard. Yes, it's coming out this way. Good. Push down. Hands together. Hands back on the belly. As soon as you get to chest height, then cross the arms. Keep your focus. Cross the arms, bend the legs. So now you imagine there's huge chains all around the body, right up to the head. And when I say break the chains, open the hands, send the energy out the back of the hands, out the whole of the body. And it looks like this. So you're coming down, and I say bend your knees, cross the arms, and then break the chains.
So there's people out there that want to fake
Pulling in from the right.
spiritual awakening or the spiritual guide.
Pulling in from the left. Looking up, breathe in.
Spirit for profit.
Use your voice this time. Break the chains! Hands together. Keep your connection. Be aware of your body. When the hands come to here, bend your knees. Arms apart, nice and big, lots of space. You're going to send the energy out of here and energy out of here. See what happens in the middle. Keep going and keep breathing. You can breathe as much as you like and make space to breathe in. It'll be like a big wind, and you just keep going until it starts feeling like honey. Breathe out.
Until it starts feeling like what?
Tighten the body. Tighten the whole body. Cross the arms. Looking to the right. Pull the energy in. Looking to the left. Looking up. Breathe in. Pull the energy in. Pull it down. When you get to the chest, bend the knees, arms apart, and push the energy out the hand. Big breath. Yes, keep breathing. Good, good, good. More power, more passion, more power. Big. Look into the hands. Look into the hands. Look into the space between. Yes.
Really feeling it, dude.
Good, good, good. Good, good, good. Yes, Magnus, good, good.
That's it.
Yes.
Oh man, you have a heart attack. Someone shit themselves. It's like, oh, I can feel it in my gut now.
So, you've got a lot of power, but it's not really coming out. Okay? Real focus. Out, now, everything. Somebody's life depends on it, so it's now or never. Big breath. Good. Look into the hand. Yes. Good. Good.
That one, that lady goes crack. Yeah, where's the part? Oh, right
Andas in, andas in, upp, andas in, för in energin, ner. Yes. Knip, knip, håll. Knip,
He's like, oh, hurt too. Oh, she moved the dude out. Shit. Where is it? Yeah, look, right here, right here. Jesus. Oh, yeah. Harness it.
In energin. Andas in, andas in, upp, andas in, för in energin, ner.
She can block it with her chin.
Knip, håll. Knip,
Never gets old.
It never gets old. Look, look, look. He's like, ah.
Oh, the energy's in me now.
The energy, I just knocked this bitch out, and now the He's like, I'm in trouble.
Where were you guys? Where the fuck were you guys?
He's like, I might be in trouble. Oh, God. She was supposed to move. She believed in her chi. Oh, he's healing her. Oh, heal her, dude. Heal. Oh. She's like, dude, it's not working.
Oh my God. This is so upsetting.
Teabag, teabag, bitch. Teabag, bitch. I just want to see you get knocked out one more time.
Good. Look into the hand. Into the hand. Power coming out there. Big breath. Good. Look into the hand. Yes. Good. Good.
She's like,
you stand here, and Magnus and Rebecca, you prepare her. And I don't know when I'm going to come, so you have to
I
prepare
don't know
her
when
quick.
I'm going to come. He's so focused. His focus is unbreakable, though. I mean, you've got to hand it to him. They're focused. They got the leg out there. They're feeling the chi. His hands in their feet. I felt the chi now like that.
Andas in, andas in, upp, andas in, för in
She sees
energin,
him right here. She
ner.
sees him right here. He's like, he's coming a little fast. Get him out of the way.
Knip,
Okay, that's okay. Superpowers are the best. Oh my God. Take it easy, everybody. Catch you on the next episode of THC.
Peace. THC fam.
Where we're all family. Catch you later.
See you guys.
Thanks for joining us, Jorge.
Thank you, man.
Thanks for having me, guys. Enjoy.